flock over to that stadium. But if you're going over to see Florida State Cal this weekend, make sure you swing past Hotel Indigo. We'll be there for sort of a kind of like a happy hour-ish thing I think we're doing, right? 4 to 6, something like that?
4 to 6 p.m., correct.
4 to 6, yeah. So should be fun. 4 to 6 p.m. And we're doing the pregame show in the morning. Tom and I tend to do that. There are a few this year where we'll do it live over there at Indigo. Most of the time, though, we're doing these earlier in the day because we have other obligations and things like going to meet up with you guys and hanging out at the Indigo. That's right. Best view in town of good old Doak, even Doak under construction. So that's fine. We'll be there 4 to 6, meet and greet, hang out, have some cold beers, and there you go. Also, Friday, tomorrow, I will be over along with Corey Clark. I will join my cohort over at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. So I'm just kind of setting the stage, lay of the land stuff that we're doing here. This is all of that. And just letting you know where everybody's going to be. That's fine. You don't have to flash the graphic, Tom. People know. They can hear me. They can hear me that, hey, by the way, this football rules the day. We're only a week and a half to go in Major League Baseball. And I know I can't lead a Redemption Thursday with Major League Baseball talk, but I kind of am tempted to because it's really interesting right now. And I know for you, that is especially true. For you, that is especially true. And it's true for you too, Braves fans, because it's starting to get a little dicey. Braves 2 back of the Mets with 10 to play. Chris Sale goes today. Didn't mean to make that rhyme. Kind of sounded cool, though.
It's getting kind of nip and tuck. It's starting to feel a little bit more real. We'll put it that way. It's starting to feel a little bit more real. But we'll see. Still got a lot of work to do. And when you play the Phillies for 4, the Braves for 3, and the Brewers for 3, nothing is assured.
Phillies' magic number to clinch the East is 4.
Right.
Because the Braves and the Mets both won last night.
And we're in second. So not the Braves, which means that all they got to do is split the 4-game series and they can celebrate in Queens this weekend. Let's not have them do that. That'd be cool.
By the way, Ohtani had his 49th steal last night in the Dodgers win over the Marlins. And he has 48 home runs. And now he's also starting to throw. And they're talking about the fact that they may pitch. I know. I'll push it. I got it. You stop with the baseball, Jeff. Just saying. Hey, you're doing something today that I didn't think that I could do. I'll keep it, but I don't think I can wear it. I just like that you can. We both have that hat. Tom's wearing a Knowles cap that signifies the game in Dublin. And I was so disappointed that we played as poorly as we did and lost that game because I thought, I'm not going to wear that hat.
Well, it's a good memory. And my buddy,
it was fun.
My buddy threw it to me when we were doing a show at the old storehouse. Tyler was like, "Hey, Lang."
Hey, he threw it to you. I was standing right there.
And he frisbeed it, and I caught it just like I always did in a pickup football game.
Got to catch the ball.
They called me the sure thing in pickup football. Caught it right there, one-handed, middle of the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's a memory that by itself, I'm going to keep the cap. By itself. You gotta don it every once in a while. So that's why I'm wearing it.
Okay, I like that's why you're wearing it. I can't because I'm mad. I have the hat too. It sits on a table in my bedroom that's off to the side. Really, this table is like a lot of tables. It's been like sadly, it's kind of like where I place a pair of pants for 2 days for no reason. Like when I'm going to bed, I'm like, I'll throw those. I don't know. They don't need to be washed yet. It's just a pair of shorts, whatever. They pile up on the table. That's where the hat is. That's where the hat is.
Sitting with Wheezy.
Yeah, just sitting there like, maybe I'll get around to you. Maybe I will. Did you know tonight's NFL game, by the way, that Ron hasn't had a 300-yard passing game since November of 2021?
Really? Well, he hasn't been injured in that entire time. So
no, he had an entire season before he got hurt where he didn't throw a 300-yard game. He didn't have a 300-yard game. I just thought that was a crazy stat. I came across it this morning. I was reading through a bunch of stats this morning, just getting set to make picks and do all those things. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I mean, you would have thought you fall into one, but that's what they had. Charlie says he's got a wedding to attend on Saturday, and I hope my phone doesn't have service. That's funny, Charlie. That's funny. You know, everybody complains. Everybody gets angry when their friends get married during the college football season on a weekend in which the Noles are playing, especially at home. And yet this year it would be celebrated. They're like, oh, we've got the McLaughlin's wedding to go to this Saturday. All right. I hope they don't have the game on. I hope I'm able to go watch other teams play.
The McLaughlin's.
The McLaughlin's.
Something tells me, buddy, that's an open bar. I don't know what. Just the sound of the McLaughlin's wedding. I think that's a premium open bar.
Travis, that's not a real rumor. That would be stuff that people project and hope, but that's not a real thing. And no, he is not. And why would they hire Dion? That'd be crazy. He's failed miserably at Colorado. There'd be no reason to do that. Also, he's a clown. So that's the other reason not to do it. All right, you ready? You want me to do this? You ready to go to the game?
Okay, so I kind of can, I kind of can't.
Yeah.
I can post the lines. Here's the thing.
I gave Tom the picks late, guys.
No, well,
it's my fault. It's true. It's my fault. I had typed a lot of this up this morning, but I had 4 more picks to make, just so you know. And I didn't like a lot of what I was looking at. I wanted to try to incorporate more NFL. This week's tough in the league. The league is tough this week. I don't like it in terms of bets for the National Football League. I'm going to be doing a lot of prop bets. I'll tell you that right now. I don't like a lot of these lines in any way. And so I thought, well, let me think about something else. I want to read a couple of things. Also, the league is all banged up. Bunch of injuries to a lot of key players. And I'm like, man, I can't get a feel for this one. And so then I realized that it was time for me to hop in the car and come in here to the studio, and I hadn't sent it to you yet. And I had something like 7 or 8 college picks and no NFL picks. And then I remembered that I always bet under KJ Osborne because they just let him block. So I did that for you at 19.5 yards in the NFL. And then I took the game because it's a Thursday night. I'm going to kind of watch some of this.
So I can present them, but the tool that one would use to grab it and make it art is not working on this computer right now. So what I can do is I can share the old spreadsheet. This will be old school. This is essentially an Excel spreadsheet.
Is that what you're going to do? Can I see what it looks like? Let's see what this looks like.
There it
goes. That's what we got. I don't think people care that it's all right.
They just want to know what the juice is for. They want to know how are they going to go 5-5 this week. That's what they care.
I've gone 5-5. That's what I've done. I got to, better than Florida State, but I'm not good right now. It's not, I don't love it. All right. Here's what I did. At the time I bet it, I got Mississippi State +7. I think it's 6.5 now, maybe 6. Do you know why I took that game? There are the people that cover Florida for On3 and the other networks, that the people on the ground that cover Florida are saying without saying it that Florida has completely quit. There are players, for example.
Already?
Oh, 3 years of suck. I mean, it's not already, Tom. He's done nothing in 3 years. This is going to be the 4th consecutive losing season for Florida. They're tired. They're worn out. They don't have a 13-0 season to fall back on. They don't have anything to fall back on. They have zero belief in this cat. And, a lot of these guys are looking at their future going, maybe I want to secure my red shirt for this year and not play in 4 games. Maybe I need to figure,
that would make sense from the younger player perspective. But if you're an older player, you got no choice. You got to play. If you'd like to continue to do so after your eligibility is up, you still have to try. And you might have a nice NIL deal. That's part of my issue with here. It's like, oh, really? So $100,000 for an NIL deal? That's the rest you want to make in your life.
Yeah.
Because this film says that's all you're going to make, even though you could make millions if you just tried. Anyway, that's our issue, not Florida's. Florida's got more issues.
Brett made a bet with me last week, and he doesn't know who won. Brett, you got to pay better attention. I appreciate that you gave 2 boxes of cereal to the local food bank. That's cool. We can do it that way every week.
Just bring 2 every week. See if you can remember the bet. Maybe not. Have a couple of shots during the show. See if you remember which bet you picked.
I'll have to go back and I don't know who Brett took. Brett, you're gonna have to. I like it. You should keep contributing boxes of food to folks. Anyhow, so there are Florida players that liked tweets that said fire Napier.
Well, okay.
That's a pretty good indicator.
We've got hashtag free the youngins. They've got fire my head coach.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You know, that's it's hilarious. So I mean, I think there you go. That's kind of why I did it. I don't think Mississippi State can play. They're awful. There have been 3 different people that I've heard in that cover college football that seem to think that Mississippi State's the worst non-Vandy team in the SEC. They always have to have that caveat that they're the worst non-Vandy team that the SEC has seen in 10 plus years.
Good thing Virginia Tech doesn't have them on the schedule then.
I mean, that's pretty crazy, right?
So you're really betting against Mertz's will and desire to help Florida rise up in this situation. Because he cares to be there, Graham Mertz.
It's tough. It's tough. Gregory, stop crying about Colorado. Deion's one of those high-profile people in all of college football. He's going to get mentioned on the show. I talked about Colorado last year when Florida State was undefeated. I'll talk about him if Florida State doesn't win a game, just like the rest of the country will talk about him because all he does is bitch about the media and complain about everything under the sun, and he's done a terrible job there. He's an ass, and he's going to get mentioned over and over again. Mississippi State +7. We'll go Cincy -3.5 against Houston. Quarterback problems at Houston. Tulane -3 against Louisiana. That's the opposite. I like Tulane's quarterback. I'm going to continue to ride that. LSU -24 against UCLA. By the way, UCLA is dreadful. Dreadful. Iowa -2.5. I did it for you, Tom. It's the Floyd of Rosedale. A bronze pig is at stake this weekend.
Well, when you lose the Cy-Hawk trophy,
you got to bounce back
on a kick at the buzzer, then you're going to be motivated.
Iowa,
what's the total in that game?
I didn't
24?
No, it's higher than that. That's why I just went with the spread. I kind of like Iowa's team. If they really took that game away against Iowa State, they would be in the conversation for the 12-team playoff, and they didn't blow that lead, which is kind of crazy, but they did it. They did it. But I like them to row the boat. USC -5.5 against Michigan. I tend to think that USC, who, by the way, is playing their first Big Ten game ever, will win this game, not because they're great, although I think they're pretty decent, but they have kind of bought into playing a modicum of defense. That's the bet. And I don't see Michigan moving the ball.
When it's outside of 4.5 or 4, you got to take defense into account.
Yeah, it's been, one of the things that with Michigan going into the season where, like, in the offseason, you would have, this line would have been very, very different, first of all. But everybody knew that defense coming back was really, really, really good. And, I think bottom line is the defense is still really good, but if you can't move the ball, you saw what happened against Texas. I'm not saying USC's Texas, but, man, you get worn down. We watch it. Last week, Florida State stunk on offense, again, against Memphis, and the defense played pretty well. But over time, you get worn down. This is what happens, and you wear out, especially if your offense is fooling around and giving people short fields, or your special teams does that, in the case of Florida State with the muff punt. Just kind of feels that way. Illinois beat Kansas a couple weeks back, 23-17. Looked like the better team throughout. Won big last week over Central Michigan. The Fighting Billings play some defense. I actually like their defense. And so this is more a bet on Illinois' defense, keeping them in the game for a little while. I don't think they win the game, but I think that game, that has backdoor cover written all over it. I can see that.
It could be 2014, 24-17. Yeah. You're usually, I feel good about these picks. It's not quite the state of Utah when you bet on Utah in general, whether it's Utah State, Utah, hell, even sometimes Nevada. I feel pretty good. But this with Nebraska and Illinois, this just feels like it's kind of up your alley. Even though you're not a Midwestern guy.
I do bet these games a lot.
It feels like your lane. So I like this pick. I would not fight you for tall boys on this pick.
You know what I almost sprinkled in here? Let me ask you if you'd fight me for tall boys on this pick. I think Cal will beat Florida State. So would you have fought me on that? Would you take the Noles?
It's impossible to take the Noles at this point.
Yeah,
I did pick the Noles to win 16-13, I think, for the Warchant report, 16-13. I think that's where the score has to be for us to win the football game.
Yes.
I don't think we're reaching 24.
Well, so there's a couple things here. I don't feel good about Florida State getting their tackles back. And if you don't have either, now I don't know that to be true. And just so you know, this is not derived from practice. Didn't go to a practice this week. I haven't gone to practice. So I'm not telling you anything that's like a company secret. Like they can't get mad at me over there. It's just that I'm not getting a sense, even by Mike's own comments, that we're going to get Byers back in time. Like he was asked a question about Byers this week. I don't know if you heard that answer. I didn't love that answer. It didn't sound like. Now I'm inferring. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and that'd be great.
It was the same thing last week. I thought he used the term weeks. If it's a couple of weeks,
it sounded plural.
That was before Memphis,
right?
Yeah.
So Byers actually played pretty well prior to his injury, which is really unfortunate. And so yeah, I took. If you don't have him back, and I don't know if Darius is going to be back. He got hurt in pregame warmups. I don't even know what happened in that situation. I have no idea. I mean, none of us knew that was going to happen until we found out afterwards that he got hurt in pregame warmups. So he hasn't played well anyhow. That's the other part. I know I don't have to summarize it, but here's what I'm letting you know. The reason. Hey, this is the part of this. Okay, let's have this conversation real quick. We got to go to break in a second. I didn't even get through all the picks. When you go back and watch Cal, you don't love Cal's offense at all. It's what it is. It's okay. It's okay. This is a well-coached Cal team. They're solid as a rock. They're undefeated. Beat a couple teams that whatever. I mean, it's not Cal Irvine, and that's okay. Great. San Diego State, great. I know they got the win against Auburn. There were 5 turnovers in the Auburn game by Auburn. That Auburn quarterback is awful. All of that, okay? But I give Cal credit because I do think they're buttoned up, Tom. I do think they're coached well. I do think they do what they're supposed to do. And when you watch them, you just say, okay, well, at least they have some semblance of the ability to execute a plan, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to stay within themselves. I think they're physical on defense. I like their linebacker a lot. The Buchanan kid's a good player. They have, you and I were talking about the linebackers before the game. Are they NFL linebackers? No. We're not saying that, but they're smart. They're where they're supposed to be, and they trigger. They're physical. They'll play.
Yeah, I wish our linebackers played like theirs, and that doesn't mean I'm talking about 40 times and agility drills and all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about leverage. They're in the gap that they're supposed to be.
Right.
One makes a play for another. So if you see a run to the outside, one of the linebackers will cut off that edge, be hard on the edges, not soft on the edges, drive the running back to his teammate who can rally and make a play, for a gain of 3 or a gain of 4. And you just don't see that with consistency out of us. They can still get beat and fooled, and they're not that fast, but they commit, they trigger, they play downhill, and they play smart. Just things that we don't consistently do at all.
Yeah.
The game against Cal for me is one where you watch Cal play, the immediate instinct is to say, oh man, we're going to win this game. But that would be assuming that Florida State will play smart, Florida State will play anywhere near their capability, and Florida State will play with consistency. And because we don't do any of those things, and we have not shown that through 3 games, you can't assume jack. You can't assume this is a very beatable football team, but who cares? We're not a good football team.
That's my point, is that if you're a banged up team and you don't execute, then you have a real hard time, A, winning games, and B, engendering any sort of belief that just because you have better players in a lot of spots that you're going to win the game. Florida State has better players. You can argue they have better players than every one of the teams they've faced so far this year, and yet they've lost those games. They don't do a lot of things very well right now. We documented and talked a lot about how good they are at kicker and how good they are at punter. The defensive line played better last week, and you can give them some credit for that for sure. But their linebacker play is not great. Their secondary play, and at the safety position specifically, is not great. Their corners don't get tested because teams don't have to test them. teams don't have to worry about their receivers against our corners because they're just going to light you up with their tight ends and their running backs against our linebackers and safeties. That's how that works. And so, Cal doesn't have to have special receivers to get over on us. They don't have to have this game-changing player. They've got to just execute a game plan and be very, very buttoned up, and I suspect they'll come in and do that.
Yeah, and what I've seen, especially in the Auburn game, is they played off. They were afraid of Auburn's receivers, which they should be, but they allowed them to cross their face, poor leverage. They weren't especially great at defensive back, but Auburn's quarterback missed a bunch of throws, and I'm looking at Memphis defensive backs a week ago, and I think the same thing. So I'm thinking a lot of the similar things that I think about Cal. And then Memphis stacked the box, and we couldn't do anything with it. So you're telling me that we're so poor at that position that even when you see an opponent's secondary that looks beatable, we shouldn't expect to beat it. That's when you just say,
that's tough,
damn
man.
I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Throw those picks back up there. I'll round it out real quick, and we'll go to break. And, some other things, big picture stuff to talk about here, too. Yeah, I took Illinois +8 against Nebraska. I went under BYU, K-State. I don't like either one of those teams, so I'm going under the 49. I did, for the game tonight, just to have some fun with it, KJ Osborne under 19.5 receiving yards. He blocks more than he catches, and I took New England +6 because they'll run the ball, and the Jets hasn't been able to stop the run, oddly enough, so the game gets shortened. So it works. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. But what they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher, and we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping.
Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps.
Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors.
And we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless.
Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Social Kitchen on Cary Forest Parkway is your place for all things related to football season. Need steaks? Social Kitchen. Need chef-prepared sides and appetizers? Social Kitchen. Need desserts for a party? Social Kitchen. Anything you need this fall, Social Kitchen has you covered. Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides that are ready to serve in under 20 minutes. Stop in or visit online at socialkitchentlh.com.
I'm Caleb. I'm the lawn supervisor at Paul's Termite and Pest Control, and I really do love my job. Paul's has created an incredible work environment that always puts our customers' needs first. Their needs are our concerns, and my particular job of improving the health of North Florida lawns is something I truly enjoy. I'm an outdoor person, and I get to be outside all day, watching the lawns run through the stages full of weeds to weedless to lush, grass-filled landscapes is very rewarding. I'm proud to represent Paul's.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Caleb and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We're North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on a redemption Thursday. Wagers are in. You know, there's a misperception that as this goes along, you know, I just got done saying I think Cal will probably beat Florida State Saturday. Not that we can't win. Certainly wouldn't suggest that. Florida State could there's a path to Florida State winning. It's an easy path to see because I think that both defenses could shut down both offenses and you just win a low-scoring game like Tom was saying for Florida State to win. Would you have 16-13, something like that?
That would be yes. If you're looking for us to win, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and you got a good kicker, and you got a good punter. You can flip field position. You can do a lot of those things. Sure, that would seem to be the path.
Well, and their kicker's 2 of 6 on the season so far. They've got a good punter, but their kicker has leg, but not accuracy so far this year. So if you're 1 out of 3 in terms of percentage, you could find some hidden points there. Like it's all possible, but the big picture thing is, do we care? Do we care to be there?
The whole point is that you can't know what the psyche is. They did show up last week on defense. Wasn't good enough because your offense had less than 100 yards at halftime. This was despite a game that was, you had 2 weeks to prepare for. It's unimaginable, but that's where we are. Florida State's not good. And I can talk about a bad Florida State team just like I can talk about a great Florida State football team, and I can do both with emotion and remove emotion. That's very easy for me to do. Been doing this a very long time. I don't get more emotional the worse the season gets. I get less emotional because I've already been disappointed. The disappointment's already happened. The team's not anywhere close to what we thought they could be. Nothing about what's going to happen this year would radically alter my disappointment. Like I know now, and I'm not living in a fantasy land here. You're not going to beat many of the good teams that remain on your schedule. You might sprinkle in some wins here, but it's going to be a disappointing season. Even if you wanted through 3 games to say, well, Jeff, they got 9 more games. What if they win 6 of them and become bowl eligible? Whoopity-doo. 6-6 after a 13-0 season. You didn't exactly cash in. So I would say that means you probably have a win or 2 that would be gratifying, like over Florida or over Miami, both maybe a win over Clemson in Florida or something like that. You would have to get to 6 wins. You're going to have to find some wins in there against a couple of decent teams that right now you're a definitive underdog against. And I like beating rivals. So, yeah, I could be somewhat – if we arrived at that number and you had a win over Miami, especially this year in Miami, they're thinking they're national championship contenders – that would be satisfying. That moment would be. But this season is not going to be a satisfying season. Now, there's not much that's going to happen that's going to satisfy you. So what I'm looking for, and this may sound defeatist, it's not. It's the opposite. What I have to see is a coach who finds a way to push the right buttons and make some changes in the offseason. He's got to make some changes to how they go about preparing for the season. Clearly, this year was a failure. And he's got to change, I think, his staff. He's got to change, I would think, multiple members of his staff. And then I also think he's got to really see what he has in these young guys. That part of it is kind of exciting for me. Like, I can go into a game thinking we're going to lose to Cal and still take something out of it. And maybe we don't lose to Cal. That'd be great. I'd rather win than lose. But, like, do you get an opportunity to see some of the younger guys that haven't played yet? And what do they look like? Is there real promise there? If all of a sudden I'm looking at some of those young guys that they're going to be counting on next season to get this all turned around and they play well, what happens if Brock plays in the second half and is good, is a plus player, has a something that you could build around? You may lose the game, and I think Florida State fans at this point would walk away from that going, okay, all right, we got a little something
It's
here.
about time.
No, we'd be mad that it took this long. We'd be mad that, whatever. But you'd be, okay. I'm just giving examples. I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm saying there would be things that you could, if all of a sudden you're playing Elijah Moore, he's 6'4". You and I have seen him up close and personal. Fans would get their first chance to really see him. And if all of a sudden he's making, let's say he has 4 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown, and one of them is a spectacular catch. Oh, okay. We've been hurting at wide receiver. This is nice. I see something in him. So what if Cam Davis has a big game? You use him in the Wildcat. He gets 7 or 8 carries. He ends up with 52 yards. And, okay, you could see this. Landon Thomas, lots of guys. Otto comes in on the offensive line and shows you something, holds his own, is a plus player. These are all areas that you would come away from a loss and find something positive out of. I get that the casual fan right now is kind of obsessed with just getting that first win, so we're not still over. But I assure you, beating Cal at home is not going to change the national narrative about the Florida State season. It's not.
No, well, the narrative thing, again.
I don't worry about that. What I'm saying is, though, casual fans wake up in the morning and they hear radio shows and they read articles where shots are taken at the bad teams in college football. And Florida State's one of those bad teams right now. And that hurts their feelings.
No, but yeah, what can change it is, and this is the enthusiasm that you need if you're Mike. You need the enthusiasm so you can sell something to somebody in the offseason so they can contribute, to the changes that are necessary.
Right.
The youngins. Right now, you were given a gift of a hashtag and a slogan about free them youngins. All right. Let's say you get 4 or 5 of those players like you're describing. They stand out. They make plays. They give you hope. We're rallying around the term as a fan base of the youngins, the youngin' Knowles, whatever. Somebody's going to come up with something catchy, and it's going to be about the youngins, and it's going to be, let's tune in to watch them this given weekend. And now you've got something to all band together for.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, everybody's trying to tear everything down from different angles. But that would feed you the hope that you are so desperate to eat right now. The thing is, you got to play them. I don't know how much they're going to play. Hope they do. Mike Norvell hinted that there might be a few guys that are going to play more than the 4 games for the redshirt season. He said that on Tuesday after practice. Follow through. Let's see them. We need it. Because even if let's say they win an ugly game over Cal, and we'll be happy about the win, but it's all the vets, you'll be happy about the win, but you would still crave something to be more hopeful for. Because I'm glad that Darius, if he played, and DJ and Benson and Roydell put enough together on one side of the ball, and DJ Lundy made enough plays on the other side of the ball to get us 1 win in our first 4 games. But none of them are going to help us next year, and none of them are really helping us this year. So I would still like to see more of Juice Cryer, Brock Glenn, Otto, Elijah Moore, Lawayne McCoy, Cam Davis, Mekhi Danzy. That's your path.
I'd like to see a passion. I'd like to see an intensity. I'd like to see a shift in physicality. I've not seen this team appears to be soft to me in a lot of areas, and that's frustrating. Now, I have not said that they've quit because they haven't. We have some players who occasionally give less than 100%. We've seen that on a lot of plays.
Well-compensated players.
And that's frustrating. I think you've got to start making changes in that area. You can't let guys do that and not suspect that you're going to lose the locker room. Because these young guys, we talk about free them youngins, but they're also looking at the examples being set by the older players. You got to be really careful who you let continue to go out there if they're not giving you everything that they have. If you've got a kid take a play off and it's pretty obvious on film that that's what happened and he starts again the next week, or he plays the bulk of the minutes again the next week, that's how you lose people. That's how you lose players. That's how you frustrate players that are behind those guys, saying, I'm working my ass off every day, and you're going to reward that? Can't do that. He's got to really be careful right now. It's a tough time. Everybody's going through it. Emotions are high. People are pissed. They're projecting, the fears that are in our heads, oftentimes greater than the reality that we live in. We understand that. In your mind right now, you could see Florida State getting housed by a number of teams on this schedule, And in your head, you're sitting there in Chicago with me watching Notre Dame drop 57 points on Florida State. Yeah, I got it. Everybody's doing that right now. I'm looking at really the details of some things that bother me that would affect the program's long-term future, not an individual game result that's going to happen this year. You know, I there have been games where Florida State you knew was going to put it on somebody because they had quit, and you saw the evidence of that. And then you did. You put it on them. It's oddly satisfying for the moment, but it does not satiate the long term. And what you end up doing is going, okay, well, that's good. We should have done that, right? Like, nobody's overly impressed that you beat a team that quit or it doesn't have the players. Tom writes, the best thing you can do for your mental health the rest of the year is to look at the remaining 9 games as extended preseason for next year. Tom, I think that's right. Nobody likes to hear that in season, and it's a delicate balance because there are veteran players who committed to you a long time ago, some of whom are playing their ass off, doing everything they can to better the situation. And you owe it to them to try to win games now in this, their final year, right? There are some guys like that who have given everything, and they don't want to see you experimenting, playing some freshmen where that isn't ready to play and all that, especially if it's leading to more losses than you would have had if you just kept the veteran. They want to win games. It's tough. At the same time, your season goals are gone. You got no, let's be real, they got no chance to win this conference. And they stated to you by what they did in the offseason that they thought they did have a chance to repeat as conference champions. That's why they went out and got the supplemental pieces in the portal.
Well, and it's hard to argue if you're a player in that locker room that's saying, well, we're going to lose less games, fewer games if we didn't go to the youngins. Really? We're 0 for 3. And we played Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Memphis.
Right. You haven't played the good teams on your schedule yet. You're not playing one this weekend either.
Are you sure?
No, the cow,
that would be my redirect. Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You know, but there are some veterans. You need to reward the veterans who are playing hard and
executing and still doing. Yes.
They need to play.
Yeah, they have to play.
But these young kids need to come in. They need to play. And if they make mistakes, as long as they're not for the same reason as a veteran who makes a mistake out of a lack of willpower, then they stay in. It doesn't matter that they're a worse player in this moment, that they're not as good.
Yeah, again,
for 60 minutes, it's about the future, but it's also about commitment level. Because that's the thing here. You're fighting a battle to win a football game. You're fighting a war to save your culture. That's the thing.
Well, that's why I brought up what I did about I need to see some changes that I'm distressed by. I'm not worried about a loss to Cal. I'm not worried about a loss to, I'm not happy. I don't like losing games. Nobody does, but I'm a realist. I'm pragmatic. I'm very pragmatic in my life across the board. I cut a joker off in a heartbeat if it's what's going to be best for me and my family. Right? He needs to look at this, and I don't think he is, and coaches oftentimes don't. He needs to look at what do I have to do to make sure this kind of season doesn't happen again under my watch. This season can become next season, can be the season after that if you let culture rot set in because you're trying to beat Cal.
And I need these kids that are on my roster to be an active part of not letting that happen and of the solution.
Right.
Who are my allies in the long-term future of my program? And I don't mean just about wins and losses. Like, who are my allies in salvaging this thing? Not the kids who are going to be gone in 9 months. Some of them could be short-term beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, when they're gone, whether they play or they don't, and I've got tour of duty next year and spring camp, I need all these other guys to be on board.
They have to be in.
Because if they're wishy-washy on me and they want to see how spring camp goes, well, then they're not fully committed for the right reasons. Like, this is how it slips if you make the wrong decisions. And you could still get away with playing the veterans this weekend. And if you lose, still pivot, and there's enough time. Like, I think he has more time than he has to play the kids this weekend or else he's going to lose his culture. I'm not trying to paint it that way. He's got a little more time. But why would you wait? I think is the question that we're asking.
Well, you can't protect DJ. Let's get back to being practical and pragmatic again, right? You would play DJ because he started 45, 46 games of college football, and he's been the better player in practice. All right, well, that's why you played him. And that's why you got him, right? But it hadn't worked out. The games haven't been good. Obviously, you've lost all of them. He's played largely poor. But more importantly than him playing poorly is that the offensive line has been dreadful, and he's an immobile quarterback currently. He's less mobile now than he's ever been. You go back just check the tape. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Go look at him at Oregon State last year. Go look at him even in his early days against Clemson. He was never this great elusive runner, but he was better than this. This is a statue. He cannot move. This offensive line cannot block consistently well. That's all you need. That's the excuse you need to go to the younger player. Brock may not end up being the long-term answer. Nobody's telling you that if you go to Brock, you're going to save the season. But you've got to find out what you have in him. And you can't protect the other. So there's your reason. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A Tallahassee couple, both lawyers, are now suspended from practicing law in Florida. Sarah and Gabriel Warren were arrested in March for sexual battery. The couple took a plea deal for lesser charges and apologized to the woman they were accused of assaulting. The Florida Supreme Court suspended them from the bar on Wednesday. 3 people have been hospitalized following a car crash involving 5 vehicles near Florida A&M's campus. 2 people had minor injuries while 1 had serious injuries. The crash happened at the intersection of Adams Street and Lincoln. The crash is still under investigation. There are no further details available at this time. A precautionary boil water notice has been initiated for Talquin Electric Cooperative members living in the West Regional Water System. Members in this area could notice low water pressure and discolored tap water. Members in the advisory should bring water to a rolling boil and allow it to cool before drinking or cooking. Clothes also may be stained if washed with the discolored water. This is Rachel Anae with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Northwesterly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows dip down to about 71. High of 89 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine and dry Saturday and Sunday with highs in the upper 80s. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 87.
When your AC unit decides to give up the ghost, it doesn't always pick the best time. But no matter what time, day or night, or day of the week, you can call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning. We'll be out to bring your AC unit back to life. We've been repairing and replacing heating and air conditioning systems in the North Florida and South Georgia area since 1974. So when your air conditioner stops working, call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning to the rescue.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. You two at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Jeff.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is sponsored by Shannon Young with Fairway Mortgage Corporation. He's so good, he's even got Jimbo's Christmas tree pre-approved for a new home. Visit loansforknowles.com.
Quinn Ewers going to get the seat on the bench this weekend while he recovers from that oblique strain. Arch Manning going to be the starter for Texas, his first ever. Does Quinn Ewers ever see the field again? That's the question. Are we looking at a Wally Pipp moment?
Well, in Austin? Yeah. Is this his last year? Could he claim hardship?
He's not. I mean, he's not coming back. He's a junior, but he's not coming back. He's been good. 691 yards, 8 touchdowns.
He will. You know, the funny thing is now you kind of have to look at the season differently because losses matter, but not nearly as much, and not for the reasons that we documented last December. It's a 12-team field. Texas has earned enough brownie points, I would think, that they could lose a regular season game and they're still in, no problem.
Yes, they did last year into a 14 playoff.
Well, of course. I wasn't trying to steer it back to last year, but
saying, yeah.
If you're in that club, like Georgia's in that club, I think Alabama still, for no good reason, is in that club. But Texas has earned their way, and with Ohio State, into a place where that can happen. So, to me, you could almost mess around if you're the head coach and try and see who fits better when, where, and why. Is Manning really ready for all of the difficulties that are to come with that schedule in the SEC? I'll bet he sees the field again.
I don't think you're wrong. Quinn has done enough, by the way, most importantly, to impress and wow a ton of NFL scouts. A lot of people like him to get drafted very high. So I would say that he won't come back till he's healthy. You're not going to put your future at risk. There are millions of dollars that you're going to make as an NFL quarterback. The kid has a lot of qualities that the NFL likes. He's not as big as I thought he was. He's not small. I looked it up today because I was just going through some of the numbers, and Arch just looks incredible. But I was like, oh, what is Quinn? Because I saw a really favorable write-up for him to go in the first round of the NFL draft. And I was like, okay, let's see. And I started reading through and going back through his numbers again just to check. 6'2", 210, 205. I thought he was more like 6'4", 230. I thought he was like quintessentially. Well, that doesn't mean everything. I mean, there's plenty of 6'2" guys out there. It's interesting.
But this is also where I think Brady talked about this in a panel once recently about how the game has been simplified at the professional level.
Yes.
He said dumbed down because they don't take time to develop a professional quarterback, and they don't take time in college to develop a quarterback in that system at that level.
Yes.
So everything's more simplified. We heard about that for offensive linemen years ago.
It started with that. It started with offensive linemen not translating as well as they once did because college systems didn't have as many they didn't have any as many times where a quarterback was under center and all that other stuff.
The technique necessary for all those things was a little bit more difficult. And that's why I think that, like, the good part of it is that means that NFL offenses are not homogenous,
right?
And you've got a lot of variety. That's the good part. The bad part is it is simpler. It's not as refined, but it opens the door for somebody who is less than 6'4", who is pocket mobile.
Well, we've seen that happen, yeah.
So, but it opens the door for more opportunity and more variety. So, like, I think 10 years ago, 6'2" would be such a knock. There
would be people who say, well, he's going to have to overcome that.
And he's a day 3 pick no matter what, because he's not the prototypical guy.
Yeah.
But now you got to redefine what is acceptable as a first-round draft pick at quarterback. There's a variety of correct answers where there used to be like only one or two.
Without question. And the other part of that too, Tom, is that like Quinn's in no hurry here. I mean, they've got Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State on the horizon here. So Arch could light it up. You could get exactly what you wanted if you're Texas, which is to say Arch gets to play teams that are inferior. He's already good. I'm not trying to take away from him, but you're going to manhandle those teams. He's going to put up magnificent numbers, further elevating the hysteria around him for when he is the guy. But you don't have to play him in a real SEC game because Mississippi State doesn't count. So you get to then say, oh, Quinn's back against Oklahoma for the Red River. Here we go. We're good to go. And then from there, you have Georgia. You would want Quinn to start that. You wouldn't want Arch to start that.
Well, but the issue you run into is, let's say Manning lights it up. Then,
well, he's going to light it up against those two.
You have 2 consecutive bad drives in Red River. All of the stadium is
well, they're
is against you at that point, because Oklahoma already is. But then the Texas side is saying, Manning, put in Manning.
But it's not like Quinn has sucked. That's the thing. They
hasn't.
Can't. It's not. Our situation's a little different.
But it's a very different. Of course. Yeah. But it's a very different pressure for Ewers if he comes back into that frenzy, because now it's don't blow it versus go win me the game. Because if you just have a couple of uneven decisions, man. That's how you have a civil war.
But I'm going to tell you this. I didn't realize this till today in looking up those numbers. So the Louisiana Monroe game and the Mississippi State game. So those are 2 automatic wins, basically. And again, it won't matter who's at quarterback. It looks like it's going to be Arch for at least one of these. I do not love Oklahoma's offense. And I pay attention to Oklahoma. They're having a hard time. Defensively, they're sound, but they... So you've got This is your SEC slate outside of Oklahoma, which I just mentioned, Mississippi State. You really kind of, this is a gift. They gave Texas a gift. Some of it's circumstance. It's not the SEC's fault or Texas's fault that Florida is ass, but they are. So this is what you have. You have Georgia, tough. Probably going to be a loss. Seems like it might be a loss.
Won't matter, though.
Yep.
We live in a different era.
All right. Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M.
Oh, wow.
Golly. That's a gift.
So really, maybe you just don't want to show much against Georgia that day, because if you lose, it doesn't matter. You might see him again in Atlanta. You might see him again in the playoff. I'm not going to show him much.
You might, though. You might gear everything you got to win that game because you're guaranteed from there to be in the playoff if you win it. And the other point is you'll get right the following week when you're at Vandy. So you got Vandy after Georgia.
Yeah. If you value the bye week that much, then sure, you go for it. But if you think the bye week is whatever, I mean, you just listed out all the other opponents. We're making the playoff. I don't even know if I want to go to Atlanta to play for the SEC title. I think we might just want to skate in as an at-large. And
the exception is that Texas would want to. It is their first year in the SEC. To come into the league and win it would be huge.
Sure.
It would be huge. So, yeah, I don't, they're going to play to try to win the SEC. They got a good chance. I think they end up in the game regardless.
Probably so. Yeah. But do you want to go and play in that game? I mean, I get what you mean. You'd want to put it's not like Texas has a bunch of conference championship banners in the last 25 years.
No,
so I hear you.
No, they don't. All right, this will be interesting to see how that plays out. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
AC and electric is what we do. Service, repairs, and installation too. 222-7722. Persistent.
The team at Parker Services is growing, and they have immediate openings for talented people. If you have experience in the air conditioning or electrical fields and share their values of honesty, empathy, loyalty, and professionalism, you can have a great career at Parker Services Air Conditioning and Electrical. Qualified candidates will be hired at a minimum of $25 per hour, depending on experience and qualifications. They have competitive benefits, including 401k matching, health insurance, and paid time off. Call or visit their website, TallahasseeAC.com, to apply today. CMC 050334 and EC 1301240.
Hey, fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3, brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
Major League Baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays losing to the Boston Red Sox on Wednesday night 2-1, dropping 3 of their last 4 games. Taylor Walls drove in the Rays' only run of the contest, Boston getting the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. Spoiled a good outing from Ryan Pepio. He struck out 12 in the start for Tampa Bay. We'll wrap up the series with the Red Sox tonight. The NASCAR Cup Series will be racing under the lights at Bristol on Saturday night, running at the half-mile short track for the final race of round 1 of the playoffs. Afterwards, 4 drivers will be eliminated from the championship field. Joey Logano and Chris Buescher are safe with victories already in round 1. College football coming up on Saturday. Florida State will be hosting the Cal Bears in Tallahassee, while the Florida Gators are on the road in Starkville, and they'll take on Mississippi State. This sports update brought to you by Flomar's Pawn, Guns, and Gold, more than you might expect. I'm Tony Desiri, Real Talk 93.3.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check you have a full tank of gas first before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit isf.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1861186.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
I'll never forget
that moment.
as long as I
live.
My first call ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going up to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
during the break, Tom, and it occurred to me while I was doing it that this is the kind of thing that happens when you're terrible, but it's also the kind of thing that happens when there are some unprecedented things that occur to start a season. So we know that Florida State hasn't won yet this year, has looked bad in all 3 games. And we know that Florida is not very good, is obviously, on the verge, we think, of certainly firing their head coach. So you get questions from people like, hey, when was the last time the 2 teams started a year in which they combined to win 1 game in 6? This is like how you end up going back and you end up trying to check for records that occurred. I know for example, in 1976, Florida State started the year 0-3. I was like, okay, but they lost to, by the way, in 1976, Florida State started the year 0-3. Their first loss was to Memphis. But after that, in fairness to that team, they lost to Oklahoma and they lost to Miami, which was the second game of the year. It was Miami, then Oklahoma. So that's how that went. So that's hilarious. You're like, oh, well, okay. And it's not like Miami was any great shakes, but still, it was a rivalry game, whatever. And then you lost to Oklahoma. It was good. And I know that in Charlie, I remember this is from memory. And this, because I'm old, Tom, you're going to laugh at me. I do remember when I was a kid, because my stepdad, as I've said on this show many times, is a UF law grad. He loves Florida football. That Charlie Pell's first year, he didn't win a game. And I think that was in 79. So they didn't win a game in 70. They didn't win a single game in 79.
There was a candidate for us, though, a couple of years ago. We went 0-4. I would imagine that Florida did not start 1-2 in that circumstance.
What was the year again? 20. Try to block it out.
21. It would have been 21.
Yeah. So in 2021, how did Florida start? You look up Florida in 2020. They weren't good, right? This is where we're at. I mean, this is the kind of, you're like, oh, well, we haven't done this.
They started 2-1. They beat Florida Atlantic 35-14, South Florida 42-20, and then they nearly beat Alabama. They lost 31-29.
I remember that game now that you bring it up.
Yeah, I remember that the score updates were rolling in during our post-game show. And I was like, really? So they're on the brink of beating Florida. We don't look like we have a plan. Alabama. We don't look like we have a clue.
Yeah, but you couldn't have known that they were going to end up in conference 2-6.
Right. And that we would eventually be turning that ship around, and we turned it around.
Well, actually, what's weird about that year for Florida was, Tom, they won 3 of their first 4. They narrowly lost to Alabama. They turned around the next week and blew out Tennessee. So nobody saw the loss to Kentucky coming after that.
Oh, that was that bad pick 6.
Yeah.
As I recall, from Richardson.
And then
right?
then they lose the LSU game, and they get blown out by Georgia. They get blown out by South Carolina. They get beat by a point by Missouri.
They gave up 52 to Samford.
Yeah.
52 in a win, but Samford scored 52. That's a problem.
That's a toughie. Yes. 70-52 was right. Was that not the score?
122 points.
Hope you bet the over that night, kids.
I always do this now. My instinct is, what would that post game show have been like? Not good. 70-50. It's a win. But I'm sure most of the interactions are about the defense.
It's just fun because the other thing that you end up doing is you end up trying to find. See, I think it's a mistake to do this right now. Let's talk about this for a second. Here's what I think you're going to see. You're going to see greater variance seasons under the current system. There will be those that can avoid this kind of variance if they have fortified the ranks with superior high school recruiting. So that means you get there are a few exceptions, right? There will be exceptions. Georgia is an exception. I don't think Georgia's capable, with all that they've done with high school recruiting, of having the kind of season that we're watching Florida State have right now. I don't think they could. I don't think that Ohio State could have this kind of season. They couldn't. It doesn't appear that, at least not anytime soon. We're not talking 10 years from now. Obviously, the winds have changed. But Alabama probably could not have this kind of a season. There's a certain level of talent in the clay that you're working with because you've been able to recruit at an extremely high level in high school. This is the argument that people have been trying to get Mike to understand. Like, hey, Mike, great job with the portal. Great job turning this all around. Great job getting this place back into the national conversation and putting yourself in a position to once again live on an elite streak, okay? But if you don't get more serious, either through staff changes or your own attitude about recruiting the high school ranks at an elite level, you're susceptible to this kind of drastic fall off. All it takes is for you to whiff at a couple key positions in the portal, and if you haven't fortified with a certain baseline of talent through the high school ranks, you can have these kinds of crazy variance seasons. I think this is what we're seeing, but I also think it's not going to be just us. I think you're going to see this. Like, let's see what Michigan ends up with doing this year. They just won the Invitational Championship, right? They just won the whole thing. Let's see what kind of year they have. Now, their defense may preclude them from having a disastrous season. They'll play several Big Ten teams that have a hard time scoring anyhow, and they can play defense. But their offense isn't going to be good. And they could conceivably be a 6-6 team a year after having won the whole thing. I think you're going to see really weird type seasons until we get a handle on a unilateral payroll and however this all works, right? Whatever the rules are going to end up being.
Yeah, I think that's where the crying for the union will come. I think that's where the administrations of these institutions are actually going to want one, because all it is for years, like, well, they don't want players to unionize. That causes all sorts of headaches. No, man, it's going to create a much more healthy financial reality for these organizations if you can cap how much money needs to be spent and you don't have a desperate program or three every cycle that's resetting the market against you every year. You can't have it.
Right.
It's not sustainable. Like you said in the very beginning when this all started with collectives, millionaires and billionaires who are assisting their beloved institutions are going to get tired of this very soon they aren't already.
Yeah, they didn't become billionaires by wasting $20 million of their own money on something like, I want to feel better about my college team.
No, it's cute for a few years. It's cute for a few years.
Yeah, it's cool.
But, after a while, you're going, is this really? I mean, we did it. Like, it either it doesn't work and you get tired of it, or it does work and you say, well, I'm done. That was fun.
That was fun. I got him to win. Right.
Right. So this is where the cap would be helpful for all institutions. But we'll see. The problem is with us, like, you're saying what you're saying, and it's correct. And immediately I think of the offensive line, and I think we are still dependent upon, not fortified by, not supplemented by, we are dependent upon Darius and Maurice and Robert Scott for like the fourth or fifth year in a row. It's not that they're adding to the rotation. It's like, if they don't play, oh my God.
Well, this is why you have to make staff changes. But you have got to do a better job of fortifying the ranks with high school talent. Like, even going into this year, Tom, when we were talking about how highly thought of Florida State's class was, right? I was uncomfortable with the low number of players, like the total, in terms of the total number of players that they were bringing in. The quality I wasn't upset with. The quality seemed very, very high.
That has gotten better.
Right.
Yes.
Temporarily, you got to be careful.
Right.
So here you go. All right. With those 13 guys, it's like, man, at least the 13 are choice. They're a good 13. That's why your number is so high. But in terms of total, you don't have enough. You need more. And the thought was, we're going to add more. Okay. Especially if you have a good season. You'll flip a few people that are looking at Florida, maybe a few people that were looking at some other team. You can bring them in. Now you're up to 18 to 20. You're like, okay, 20 really good players. You got a top 10 class. Well, now you've lost 2, and you're going to keep losing them. And these were the bedrocks. I mean, defensive tackle is a hard position to lose if you're Florida State right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was
and
getting
defensive end's a hard position to lose if you're Florida State right now.
It was getting to critical mass at defensive tackle, and then boom, you made it happen in the summer. You made it happen,
right?
Where you grabbed 2,
and they're gone.
Well, one is.
One's gone, and the rumor is the other will be gone soon.
Yeah.
So, buddy, when you go from 13 to 11, and I thought 13 was too few to begin with, now we're down to 11. What are we doing if we get to 9 or 8? Mashing the red panic button is what the hell you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, you've got major issues. Now, It's a crazy era of college football. The evidence Mike needed may be being presented right now that these changes are necessary. You may say, how do we get out of this conundrum, Jeff? How do we get out of this vicious cycle? Well, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be cheap. You're going to have to, in the interim, probably buy more players.
And the problem is, I think the market was already bloating before you were bad. We can agree that you're going to have to spend more when you're bad.
Yes.
In order to convince players.
Right.
But the high school market was already getting a little bit ridiculous, where you're saying, what's a better use of my dollar? To go get a 21-year-old that I know that they can do X, Y, and Z at this level, or an 18-year-old that I'm going to dump more money on, but I won't see the return on the investment for 2 years.
So this is a good one because I think it's a fair and fun conversation that requires nuance. You will not see the benefit of overpaying for a high school player. As a fan, we will not see the benefit, coach won't either, of seeing the benefit of that for 2 to 3 years. But if you don't do it and you go out and go portaling every year and miss, you're effed. The immediate dividends that you thought you were going to have by going portaling is gone when you misevaluate and have no real backups behind them that were fortified through the high school ranks that you've developed in your system. So now if Georgia whiffs on a portal player, they got a 5-star behind him. Oops, we got to play the 5-star a little sooner than we wanted to. But he doesn't suck. He's really good. It's a different level of clay we're molding. With Florida State, I think what we're finding out right now is that they whiffed on some guys. There's some other guys who might end up being good. Like, I think there's a real good chance Jalen Brown becomes a good player. He may not be great for you this year, but you portaled him because he was a multi-year guy. You kind of went betwixt and between. You kind of went, I'll take the guy that we're going to have a couple of years.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those over the years here at Florida
Right.
State.
They've done a great job with it. That's how it got turned around, and he deserves credit for that. But I think you're seeing now when you miss and then you have a couple of injuries and then it starts to unravel, you don't have anything. They have not done a good – the best class they've had is a 12th ranked class. That's the best class they've had. I think that's right. You haven't exactly churned out top 10 classes. Now, the counter to that, Ira would have yelled at me because we've had this conversation to some extent before on the air and off. Well, how could he have had a top 10 class, Jeff, when he came into a nightmare like this one and it started with COVID? You weren't going to have a great class because you didn't get to have the new car smell advantage, right? Sure. And he had to get it turned around, and he correctly tapped the portal to do it. Fair. Agreed. Somewhere along the way, though, that balance should have gotten a little bit more in the middle. Should have been, okay, I've got this now stabilized. We're winning some games. Say after your 10-win season, you cash that in with some momentum in the recruiting world. You demanded of your of your college coaches to get better in the high school ranks, or you replace them, or if they can't. Like if you think, well, Randy can't recruit, I'm going to have to get somebody who can. You got to make these are tough decisions. You got to do it. So then all of a sudden you do that. And then you win 13 games, you should have easily cashed that in for a big-time high school class.
Well, you might have closed on a couple of kids, but, you're winning the ACC title with a couple of weeks before signing day, and then you get snubbed immediately.
Yeah, didn't help.
So that doesn't help. Usually the recruiting effect is in the trailing class, but we found a way to torpedo 13-0 with 0-3. That's the issue.
Yes.
That's the big issue here, is that 0-3 has stunted all momentum, and now the kids that you do have, that's the first place you got to go to overpay, is the kids that already have said yes to you. Stay the course, young man. Stay the course. And here's a reason. Here's a couple of reasons. Here's 5 figures worth of reasons to stay the course. These are the decisions that you have to have now. It gets a whole lot more expensive. And the thing is, if you're going to swing for the downs, which way do you go? Do you swing for the downs by spending extra in high school right now? Because the ROI and the win total isn't coming immediately. You open next year at home with Alabama. You got more seats in the stadium. They'll come and fill them.
The amenities will be awesome.
The optics won't. That's.
Yeah, but you can distract yourself maybe with a DJ and jumping around by a pool area and have a Mai Tai.
As long as the DJ plays on third down. And the thing is, I don't know what to do on 3rd and 7, so I need somebody to yell at me that it's third down. Usually I forget what down it is. So I'm glad when they can yell at me, and then they can play some little, I don't know, little tune for me.
Here's the thing. Again, I bring this up a lot because while we can while we can complain and be frustrated about what's happening through 3 games here and what's likely to happen the rest of this season, I am very aware that Florida State just went 13-0 and won the conference. I keep hearing people say, well, good God, the man's been here for 5 years. Why isn't it a bit better? Well, it was better, as in they went undefeated last year. They've swept LSU. They've beaten Florida and Miami. They've done the things you want your coach to do. You've been successful. They did get it turned around. They went from being god-awful to winning 10 games in a short period of time to winning 13 games. What he did worked. He was a success. I'm very specifically saying now, this isn't working. Clearly, these 3 games are evidence of that. What do you do to get back to your winning ways? And it's not as easy as we'd like it to be. It's going to be a little bit complicated. Just like his view of the portal and recruiting has to change, the portal itself is changing. How many teams are now more involved and active in the portal than they were when Mike first tapped it, right? Mike was the guy, along with a couple of other coaches. Mike was the one who saw the usefulness, the utility of this. He was the one who said, oh, man. Now, necessity is the mother of invention, right? There they were thinking, what do we do? What do we do? I got nothing. COVID held me down. Couldn't get around the state. Don't have a great recruiting staff. What am I going to do? There's this new thing called the transfer portal. Let's identify some kids that can really play, that have already proven that they can really play. See if we can get them in here. Right pitch, right interview process, right evaluation. Got yeses one after the other, even developed them more than they were before they got here. They get credit for all of that. Competing things can be true. There's nuance in this discussion. It's not that Mike forgot how to coach and is a terrible coach and his system is absolutely shattered. It's also not that he was perfect when they were 13-0. There were problems that were masked by those wins and by some elite level players that are now in the league. You got to assess all of it. And what I wonder about is how long it will take. Like, the scary part is, yesterday, I think I saw where Urban Meyer did an interview. Yes, he's detestable, but he could really recruit. We will all admit that he was always a great recruiter.
Yeah. Okay. Invoke Jesus. It'll get you.
He did a lot of terrible things. He's a terrible guy. Got it. We know it. We're not relitigating that. The point would be, he made a point that I think we're all thinking about right now. And that is, if you lose momentum, if your program begins to stall for any reason, and all of these coaches are hired to get fired, all of them eventually do. There are a few exceptions. Nick Saban's a legend. He's an exception. Most great coaches eventually get fired. They do. Something happens. The program goes sideways. Next thing you know, they're out of a job. Sometimes they reappear somewhere else and have that success again, like Meyer did when he went to Ohio State. Other times they don't. That was it. That's all. They had a run for the ages. We'll see if Jimbo Fisher ever does anything else again. But obviously, the end of his time at Florida State spiraled, ended up being flawed. 5-7 campaign. He ends up going to Texas A&M. Had all the resources, all the money in the world. He's a great recruiter. Always has been. They did a terrible job. They did not change Texas A&M's fortunes, and now he's out of a job. Now he's in media. Now he's sitting around talking with guys like us. Does he ever get another job? Maybe. I'm sure he'd want the West Virginia job. But here's the deal. This happens to a lot of people. Sometimes you see a guy who figures it out. Other times he doesn't. We're asking ourselves now, can Mike figure this out? That's what this has brought. We're now wondering out loud. We're having the conversation daily. The fans are doing it on message boards and Twitter and at each other everywhere. This is different than ever before. Can you turn it around after this disastrous season that it looks like we're about to have? Maybe now you can in a way that you couldn't have 10, 15 years ago.
If your hypothesis is right, if you're outside of the oligarchy of college football that was going to exist without the system or with the system, it almost becomes the NFL in that sense where you have hope every year.
That's exactly what it becomes.
That's the best thing that could happen to college football from a viewership standpoint. No, I mean, if every market, let's say, if 30 markets every year, 30 programs every year, make it 40, believe that they could make the tournament, that they could make the playoff, your viewership goes up across the country.
It does. You will have to see how many more teams are added to the conversation. Because earlier when we were talking about going back into the portal and trying to flip all this, Live Spectator and others were like, well, you're not going to outbid Ohio State and Georgia. Well, yeah, you probably named the 2 to 3 teams that they're not going to outbid. But Florida State, again, with a top 10 payroll, should be very, very good.
They should be, but the problem is you're gonna have to soup it up to top 5, top 6
this next year
because you suck.
Correct.
And because kids say you suck, why would I come play for you?
You're going to have to win them over with checks.
It's a tax. It
sucks.
It's a you suck tax.
It is a you suck tax. And this is where if you had established relationships early in a kid's high school career, if you began to foster those relationships, as we know, not all these kids go to the highest bidder. They oftentimes go to somebody who offers great NIL opportunities, whom they also have an existing relationship and who has been recruiting them for some time. This is why you got to find the balance.
Oh, as I often say, time was years ago, the Mets signed Pedro Martinez and Carlos Beltran. They got Johan Santana to agree to a deal. You're not paying cheaply because you're the Mets. You have to pay more to get their attention because you're the Mets. If you were the Yankees, you wouldn't have to do that.
Yes.
But when you're the Mets, I have to get your attention. And I have to get your attention with a you suck tax. Or in that case, they weren't terrible, but a reputation tax. Put it that way. Dysfunctional organization. Like, I get it. I can wear that and admit that. We got those guys because we set records for guaranteed money. That's what you have to do. I would like it so that the tax is a lower percentage. And that's where winning this weekend would help. And winning some games with the younger players could help because playing time sales pitches.
Yes, that's a big deal.
Look at these young kids we're playing. Look at the difference they're making right now. You can make a difference right now. Next fall, I made Elijah Moore into that player, Loane McCoy, Davis, Danzy. You can be one of those players. Now your tax is reduced because you've got a pitch.
You're going to have to play those guys, I agree, at some point this year, and hopefully they'll produce all those things true, Tom. But I do think that the hard part here isn't just that you're trying to keep them from leaving at the end of this year and also still woo others. You're probably doing that while also making changes to your staff. And December the freaking 4th or 5th is when you've got to have answers from people that you're trying to have save the pro. Man, this is why it's daunting.
Yeah, well, if you're going to make a play for high school, you either got to just overspend a lot, which can also hurt your locker room. That's the risk of that, is an overspend on a bunch of kids that come in, 9 or 10 of them, and they're, 9 or 10 of your top 15 compensated players when they walk on campus. That's a dynamic issue. Or you just say, we're going to have to portal this year because it is so early. The signing period is in December. Or you make some decisions on firing guys sooner. Like as in the next 6 weeks, you have to fire some dudes in order to send a message to be able to make that pitch to high school kids.
Well, we have to break. We can also continue this. I don't know if that necessarily would help you win the high school kids by firing members of your staff right now. I get where you're coming from.
No, if you need a free agent that's out there right now that is not a part of any staff.
Right.
Or they're a support staff member somewhere else.
So you want to hire Dan Mullen? I hear you.
Oh, jeez. No, I don't.
He's available.
I'm sure he is for good reason.
He's available as a play caller, but he's not a recruiter. So you add him as a play caller, then you go find the recruiter. Who's the available recruiter, Tom? Let's go. Let's figure it out during the break.
Need Dan Mullen a couple of years from now. Not
The tried and true ad program will give you the much needed boost and exposure your business and company needs. Let's go. Let's let others know about your services. More people will find out and they'll want to flock to your business. Ideal businesses, by the way, for the free ad board include medical office, dental office, auto repair office, dealerships, you name it, bars, restaurants, obviously. You want to call Joe, you want to call Don, you want to call Rusty, who's just jumped on the board. And by the way, we just had 2 new businesses added in the last 2 weeks here from Tallahassee. That's awesome. Good guys doing good work, saving you money and giving 10% back of their net revenue to the Battle's End. Give them a call today, 844-464-6653.
In Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
We're all spending more time at home than we ever have.
And our yards have become more than something we look at through the window. They are now a major part of our refuge.
Now that we're outside more, wouldn't it be great if we could eliminate the things that make us want to run back inside? Pests like mosquitoes and fire ants.
Paul's Pest Control can do just that, and will do it for a surprisingly low cost.
Our treatments are done outside. There is never a reason to enter your home.
The weather is beautiful, and now is the time to be outside.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control will help you take your yard back.
Call us for a free consultation.
Your AC unit decides to give up the ghost. It doesn't always pick the best time. But no matter what time, day or night, or day of the week, you can call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning. We'll be out to bring your AC unit back to life. We've been repairing and replacing heating and air conditioning systems in the North Florida and South Georgia area since 1974. So when your air conditioner stops working, call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning to the rescue.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping.
Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps.
Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors.
And we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless.
Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
Your destination for the most authentic Peruvian flavors in the capital city is Café de Martín and El Bar, where you can escape to another world and indulge in the true taste and experience of Peru. Enjoy daily lunch specials like our all-new crunchy shrimp with Peruvian dipping sauces and 2 sides, plus all-day happy hour every day and exciting live entertainment every weekend. Join us this Saturday at 7 and hear the incredible voice of local star Rachel Hillman. View our full menu and live music schedule online at cafedemartin.com.
Howdy, folks. Jeff Cameron here to tell you about my friends at DexaFit Tallahassee. What is DexaFit, you might ask? Well, it's where you want to go if you're looking to elevate your health and fitness journey. DexaFit's exclusive services include AI-enhanced body scans, VO2 max fit testing, and RMR metabolism analysis to provide detailed insights into your body composition, cardiovascular fitness, and metabolic well-being. Sounds like a lot of science, but that's because it is. The most advanced science available. In fact, that's a good thing, right? DexaFit gives you immediate detailed insights about your body composition, provides a customized plan to improve on troubled areas delivered in an easy-to-navigate mobile app so you can share the information with your trainer or even your doctor to find the most direct path to your peak health. Check out DexaFit Tallahassee, the most accurate and most state-of-the-art body composition scanning and fitness planning available. Located on Capitol Circle Northeast, directly next to Bumpus. Check them out online at DexaFit.com and tell them Jeff Cameron sent you. DexaFit Tallahassee. Know your body and transform your life. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I still laugh every time I see the Pay Me Martha thing there. It's just funny. Recapping those picks. Give me Mississippi State. I'm betting on Florida having quit. Give me Cincy minus 3.5, Tulane minus 3, LSU minus 24, Iowa minus 2.5. Way too many favorites this week from me. USC minus 5.5, Illinois plus 8, under 49, BYU, K-State, KJ Osborne under 19.5 receiving yards tonight. New England plus 6. I don't think New England's any good. But the Jets have actually not been great against the run. New England runs the ball. The game will get shortened, and New England's defense is very good. That's one of those, the NFL staring at you, and I went, no, I'm going to take the 6.
You went the right way.
I went the right way.
17-14, 20-17.
Yeah, we're going to be watching some 20-14 Jets win, and I'm going to be like, all right. Because you could have gotten 6.5 earlier in the week. I didn't jump on it in time. So, probably should have done it.
Also, did you know that Martha is Canadian? Could you tell?
I could.
If you're a South Park fan out there, you know that Martha is absolutely Canadian.
Absolutely, she is. And I'm being loud there. Pay me, Martha. Give me my money.
Okay, friend.
The big noon game on Fox this weekend is Marshall versus Ohio State. What are we doing? Come on, big noon. We got to do better than that.
There wasn't a whole lot of equitable scheduling this year. You had a couple of showstoppers out the gate. You had Texas, Michigan, which wasn't a good game, but that is scheduled properly. Properly.
Yeah.
But, you had to park your ass one of the first weekends of the year.
We did.
And usually it's like week 1 or week 2 that are snooze fest. Not when you're starting to get some momentum here, week 3, week 4. It's been bad. Thankfully, Kentucky helped us last week just to keep it interesting.
Just to make it a good game, yeah. Tonight, South Alabama, App State. By the way, tomorrow, Stanford, Syracuse. I mentioned this yesterday. We do get a battle between 2 top 25 teams on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, buddy. And we don't have, an early tea time on Saturday. Now, you and I got to do a pregame show, but like most people could have a good time on a Friday night. Maybe they go by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill for the meet and greet. Me and Corey will be there, and they have themselves a tall, cold one, and they get set for the Illinois-Nebraska game, which I'll enjoy, as you pointed out last hour. It's my kind of game. I'll enjoy this game.
It's your kind of football.
I'll watch it. A little ruggedness. San Jose State and Washington State. I don't know that I'll make it to the CW. Late at night, 10 o'clock kickoff. Maybe. I've really vowed this year.
Little CW at the CP?
I'm not staying at the CP until 10 o'clock at night.
10 o'clock CW at the CP?
No. But again, what do we do? So the big nooner is Marshall and Ohio State. And I went, oh, Fox, come on. And then you bring up that the first 2 games were great games for the Big Ten in terms of the matchup, but they got housed.
I like how Douglas in the chat showed up to say, go Herd. He was waiting for this moment.
There you go, Douglas. NC State Clemson is a 20-point spread. Clemson favored by 20. That's also at noon. Florida, Mississippi State is the ESPN game at noon.
Ooh.
I know. Florida. That's how bad they think Mississippi State is. Florida's favored by 6. I'll take Mississippi State. Just bet teams that quit don't win games, so I'll take the Mississippi State team. And they may have quit too, but I'm not hearing the same rumors about them that I am about Florida. That could just be because I'm in the state of Florida. But that noon slate, if I go through every one of them, you're going to go, God, dog, everybody. The one thing that you can get excited about at noon is, I said get excited. You can say, all right, well, I'll watch this, is Kansas at Cincinnati.
Ooh.
Tom, I'm telling you, I gave you the other ones. Maybe you'll want to watch. No. Tulane in Louisiana, Houston and Cincinnati.
I'm overdue for some chores, and I think I found my window.
Every window's a great window if you gamble.
Yeah, well.
That's how you get past this weak-ass 12 o'clock slate.
Maybe we'll break out the mop at noon. Get ready for Indigo.
Do a little mopping.
Have some music cranking, and just put on the multicast. Have 4 games on the TV and hope one of them becomes compelling.
Does anything save me at 3:30, Jeff? Yes, it does. Southern Cal and Michigan at Michigan, 3:30 CBS. UCLA at LSU. Might not save you because LSU is going to house UCLA, but if you gave the 24 like I did, you might tune in a little bit there. Georgia Tech at Louisville. Georgia Tech beat Florida State, turned around and lost to Syracuse. By the way, Georgia Tech is a 10.5-point underdog to Louisville. Woo!
It's the HBAW special, that Georgia Tech game. If you know what that stands for, how bad are we?
Oh, okay.
That's why you tune into that game.
I actually think Louisville's pretty good.
Well, how bad are we? With Georgia Tech's performance.
So if Louisville beats Georgia Tech 34-7, are you going to be like, good God, man.
Well, I now got some information from this HBAW special. The answer is a big B.
I feel like you should take the over for Arizona State, Texas Tech, because I do.
I just think on principle in our lives.
You should always take the over of that game.
In our lives.
Yeah.
Just like if it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, and they're playing for the Axe.
Take the under.
Take the under.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's under 37. Well, 37 and a half. Yeah. Take the under.
Well, the reason I bring up Arizona State, Texas Tech is I've won some money on Arizona State early on. The Fighting Dillies have done me right this year. 58.5 is the total there. I was kind of surprised. That seems awfully low. Seems awfully low to me. I was like, okay, don't mind if I do. By the way, I like Navy Memphis over 49.5.
Navy Memphis.
Navy Memphis over.
Is Navy any good this year?
Navy's Navy. They're 2-0. I mean, but they're Navy. They've played Bucknell and Temple.
Bucknell is just such an even the way you said that is perfect.
Well,
Bucknell.
They've played Bucknell and Temple. I know this because when I was making my bet on Navy in the over this weekend, I wanted to see how Navy had played.
Just thinking, like Memphis is perfectly suited to stop the perimeter part of the triple option, but are
not
they,
the interior?
Are they strong enough to stop the dive? Things that we weren't willing to do.
Let's triple option that ass, Navy. Let's go. Let's go.
Anchor down.
There it is. Utah, Oklahoma State, the 4:00 game. That's the one that Fox should have done their big noon game on. Why are they having Ohio State Marshall? Okay, I get it. Ohio State is extremely popular. In fact, there are some metrics that say they're the most popular team in the country.
Well, they haven't had a bad season since I was 12. I mean, really?
They have, man, but it doesn't feel that way.
Hang on.
There are a couple in there. There's a couple sprinkled in there. It doesn't feel that way, but there's a couple. And what's your definition of bad?
8-4.
Okay. Something we would
we would
absolutely love to have this year.
Yeah, we would be thrilled for that. Okay, so I was 12 in 1998.
Oh, so that's right. I forgot how much younger you are than me.
Well, no. Okay, so
Yeah.
when I got to high school.
Yeah.
All right, when I got to high school.
I was going to say, buddy.
Because when I was 12, they went 11-1 under John Cooper.
I remember Cooper.
Not the Lightning head coach.
Got a little bit out of line himself and said some things before he played Florida State, and then we beat that ass in the Sugar Bowl.
Okay, so then he went 6-6, 8-4.
Beat that ass.
And he was fired.
6-6, Tom. Not a good season.
That's correct. Okay, so I was 13 when they had a bad season.
Yeah, well, you're starting high school.
They also had a bad one when I was 15 because Tressel was trying to build it back up.
See?
7-5.
Yeah.
Since I was 16 years old, 14-0, 11-2, 8-4.
There it is.
8-4.
There it is.
10-2, 12-1, 11-2, 10-3, 11-2, 12-1. One more, Luke Fickell in 2011. I don't remember that Luke Fickell was the head coach. That was
Fickell.
after the tattoos. 6-7.
Oh,
so 2.
A losing season. Not even an 8-4, a losing season.
13-0, 12-2, 14-1, 12-1, 11-2, 12-2, 13-1, 13-1,
Yeah.
7-1, and 11-2 each of the last.
They only had to play Michigan every year. It was pretty easy.
That's right.
But I'm just saying.
So,
yeah.
Since I was able to drive legally, about 3 bad seasons.
They've had them.
That's 22 years.
But noon should have been the Utah-Oklahoma State game is what I'm getting at, Tom. Should have been. Cam Rising is said to maybe be playing in that game. Seems like I read a report this morning that he was throwing the ball.
The same thing the last 20 games.
It seems that way. Maybe.
You don't know.
Man,
Could be playing.
Could be playing.
Might be his time.
Should be. Might be his time. Oh, buddy. We're going to have to solve for the future before the day's up, don't we?
Yes. We moved that to the 3 o'clock
We'll do that
hour,
in 3 o'clock hours. The Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
At a press conference Wednesday afternoon, city and state leaders gathered at Tallahassee International Airport to announce the installation on new electric chargers for airplanes. Beta Technologies, the company heading the installation, said there are already 2 electric prototype aircraft flying from Beta in the United States. The prototypes can take off vertically and were described as flying cars to decrease noise pollution and increase sustainability. They can carry up to 5 people plus a pilot. And a trip from Tallahassee to Gainesville is about 120 nautical miles and would take about an hour and cost around $15. Electric planes are still under review by regulators. Officials think they'll see this aircraft here in Tallahassee sometime in 2025 or 2026. The chargers are getting used right now as airport staff can charge their EVs using the same equipment. Officials say an electric plane can charge from 0 to 100% in just under an hour. This is Rachel and A with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Northwesterly winds around 5 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies tonight, lows dip down to about 71. High of 89 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine and dry Saturday and Sunday with highs in the upper 80s. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 88 degrees.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossing. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. Actually, there's big feet. There's lots of them.
So, like, different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And,
I've never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com multimedia network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
It is laughable that Tressel got run out of town for players selling their gear and getting free tattoos. It is nuts. I mean, we think about it now, we laugh at all this stuff. The oldest one of these that you laugh about, or at least lament, is the one that directly affected us, which is, again, been a couple of those, but Randy Moss smoking some weed, kick him out of the program. Good Lord. Just start printing national championships with Randy Moss in that roster that year. Following year, forget about it.
I saw yesterday on the ACC Digital Network, they have a 24-hour channel where they just play old games. And they had 96, the Florida game, where Busby did just enough, and we did just enough to escape. Of course, they got the rematch. But everybody played downhill in that game, and it made me sad.
You're right.
It made me sad that something that happened that long ago, 28 years ago, you see downhill football both ways. And yeah, it wasn't as skilled per se. You could tell that they're not doing 7-on-7 work and quarterback play isn't as good and refined. But damn it if you don't see our defensive line, which was amazing that year, but even our linebackers and safeties come down, decide to make a play. It just hurt a little bit to see that hurt in that stadium. And right now it doesn't feel the same way. Even though D-line's playing pretty well, it just doesn't have that same ferocity to it.
They are tentative, and this adds to the angst and frustration that fans feel is that, A, you don't seem nearly as talented as you were just a year ago. That'd be true, but you're not talentless, so it's a different kind of conversation. But when the players that you do have play, it doesn't look physical or intense or focused or, as you said, violent, really, is what you're describing. Like, that's the game, right? The game is violence. The game is controlled violence. There's discipline to this game that's beautiful. But a big part of this game is your ability to attack and to play at full speed and to give what you're getting and be able to give what you're getting and you just don't see it, not consistently, not at the second and third levels. And it's so disheartening. You just don't know why. Like, I keep waiting to hear that they had some sort of spirited, violent, very physical practice, that in response to some of this tentative play, they've decided to ratchet up the physicality of practices. If you're a veteran fan of college football or football in general, every old head, as my kids would say, complains about the lack of physicality in the modern game, right? All of us do. But I really think it's kind of true when I watch our practices. I don't think that they're physical enough. Now, I haven't been lately, but we see the videos.
Well,
and the stuff
the thing was that the practices haven't changed, and they played plenty physical last year. They've had over the last couple of years, they've been fine when it comes to, like, think about the receiver blocking from a couple of years ago through last year. There was more consistency there. There was more consistency in trying to drive guys backwards on offense. Defensively, 100% they played hard. If they were in the wrong spot, still, Tatum Bethune would end
those guys triggered downfield. Yes, they absolutely did.
Was downhill.
But if you're not getting it, if you're not seeing it, if it's not happening in practice, and it's certainly not happening in games, then you've got to do something to change that. And I would think the response would be to have really intense, more physical practices. And you're going to have to force it. You're going to have to force the action in that situation. And I don't know that that's happening.
Well, so we were watching the 1 o'clock window last week of the NFL. And I get they're professionals.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But that's the modern game, right? We live in the same time. We're not teleporting back to 2012, 2008. The same time. These kids played in college, and here they are. And no doubt, in a 15-minute period of time, 4 or 5 times, if you're watching multiple games, you go, "Whoo, good Lord. Are you hearing the pads popping?"
You hear it, yeah.
Oh,
those are the best in the world, and the ones that emerged from college.
But it's the modern game. The modern game's not soft by definition. These guys aren't soft. In many programs around the country, you see that downhill nature. Like Cal does that. They're not great, but they at least do that. They do get downhill. They do make decisions. They do play with a trigger.
I'm not saying that there aren't physical programs and programs that embrace physicality and force it. I'm saying we're not as physical as some of those programs. So Some of these kids are coming out of programs where that absolutely happens. I guarantee you they're hitting at Georgia. It's been talked about by the head coach. It's talked about at several places where they have these days. Listen, now, I think the right approach isn't to be what it was in 1958 or 68 or 75. I think that you have to have a more tempered effort in practice than you used to. I mean, that was crazy. I mean, we did Junction Boys and all that nonsense.
And
That's
also,
crazy.
You're throwing another 2 or 3 games of these kids now every year.
You're throwing in more games. Guys are bigger, stronger, faster, all of it, right? We've learned a lot. But I don't think you have to go completely away from it. I think you've got to have a day where you go get after it. And then if you want to dial it back as the week goes on and you're getting closer to game time.
See, this is one place that I do want to be careful, because the methods of practice before this year were fine in terms of the result that you got. So they haven't changed anything, because there was never any feedback where you thought, man, we're just not tough. We had been.
Yeah. And that's where you get into
reacting to an issue. I hear you. Even I forgive you through all of camp. It has worked for you. This method has worked. There's no equivocation about that. But then once you see week to week and you get a couple of weeks of evidence to the contrary that for this group it does not, that's where I think the criticism can begin. But I don't think you can retroactively go back to spring and fall camp and say, well, you always needed to get tougher. No, man, it had worked here. That had worked here, and we were a physical group. Last year, we were one of the most physical defenses in the country.
At the end of the year, I think certainly, although you run the risk of, and you got to be careful with it, you run the risk, I think, of. So results absolutely matter. And when you dominate somebody, it's fair to point that out. Who you're dominating matters too. I think if you're dominating a team late in the year in the ACC, or a team that's not very Louisville, that's an exception. That was an amazing defensive performance, because that was a good Louisville team and a good offensive Louisville team last year. But you had plenty of games where you were the more physical and better defensive football team than the team you were facing, but you were also better than everybody on the field in terms of like athlete for athlete.
Yeah, but you also what it looks like when an athlete plays hard and an athlete is playing free. Like Mike is calling for, that they're playing loose, free, physical. Like that doesn't require an opponent for you to summon that. That's just who you are.
Yeah, they were very, very, very motivated, and there was accountability.
Yeah.
I think that's some of what we're talking about here too.
And the thing is, for this weekend, just specifically looking at Cal and their quarterback Mendoza, he doesn't always feel a rush, like from either side, front side, back side. He doesn't always see it coming.
Right.
And so you can have a moment in a game. Auburn did. Hell, San Diego State did.
Yes.
Where he gets Driscolled like Werner once did.
Just Bjorn.
And there's
mother.
Nothing that fires up a crowd, a sideline, the other 10 guys on the field, than one dude ending somebody because they didn't see it coming. It's how Kalen DeLoach forced the fumble at Clemson. But I look at that and I say, can we do that this year? I don't know. Can we be that violent in that moment? Because you need something to spark you and help you be contagious.
Yeah, but we should be focusing instead on this offense, because I think defensively, if they show up, your point is taken. They'll play well against Cal's offense. I don't think Cal's offense is the bee's knees. I think we're going to be all right with that if you play physical and play hard. I'm not worried about that. I don't know if they'll show up. I mean, if we don't, then you can give up a lot of points to anybody. We know that. But this offense couldn't block anybody last week, and they continue to struggle in that area. And that, that's really something that's plagued them quite a bit through these 3 games. And I don't know that that's going to get better. And I don't know that your quarterback checks the right protections. And I don't know. And again, I'm not in the room, so I don't know what he's taught in those situations.
Legitimately, you don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. But I'm saying I can look at a game and guess, it's an educated guess, that he missed the protection there. Like, who is he responsible for on the defense?
Yeah.
Like, you can slide protections, but you're still responsible for a player.
Well, and then you got
you got to get the ball out.
And then you've got turnstiles in the A gaps, which the center calls that out between the 5 up front. Typically, quarterback can weigh in and change that. But Maurice is pointing at dudes, and yet you have an A gap breakdown. You're like, well, how?
Do you remember back in the day? I mean, it's kind of a joke to talk. I know we got to go to break, but it's funny to talk about. But there was a time when you knew if your offensive line was weak that you had built-in hot routes, that you knew you got rid of the ball. Right. It was coming out now.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are they in this offense?
That's not on DJ.
No, but where are those things? Hour number 3, forthcoming. Stay with.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limit. NMLS number 373033.
Time. It's the one thing we never get back. We can't create it. We can't buy it. We can't store it somewhere. Once it's gone for good, which makes it the most valuable thing we have. The only real question is how we spend our time. So, how much time are you spending every day running in circles with a computer network using old software on old equipment that's wasting your time, that gets in the way and leaves you feeling angry and frustrated? Let's fix that. Call Crown Networking. They've been helping people just like you and I make the best use of their time for the last 20 years. Now is the time for you to make the call. Here's the number in Tallahassee, 850-999-0090, 999-0090, or online at crownnetworking.com. Oh, and talk to them about getting you a new phone system, too. You know, it's time. Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at woodenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
What will the Noles do to follow up an unconquered 2023? Warchant.com, the market leader in FSU football and sports coverage, is the place to find out. Join the largest FSU fan community and talk Seminole sports in Warchant's Tribal Council and premium recruiting message board forum. Enjoy special access to multimedia elements like Wake Up Warchant, The Jeff Cameron Show, and Seminole Headlines, plus exclusive forums with FSU student athletes and a members-only discounted garnet and gold. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source. Head to Warchant.com and sign up.
Coming up next, more of The Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Crescent, Tallahassee.
Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar Spawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Florida Gators on the road at Mississippi State this week. Florida, the 5.5-point road favorite, 58 the total at Davis-Wade Stadium. Florida State winless on the season at 0-3, laying 2 against the Cal Bears. 44.5 the total at Doak Campbell Stadium. Miami laying 16.5 at South Florida, that game at Raymond James Stadium. Thursday night football today. Patriots, a 6-point dog at the New York Jets. 38.5 the total at MetLife Stadium. The Jets coming off a win last week over the Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday night. 5-point underdogs of the Buffalo Bills. 45.5 the total in Orchard Park. Bundle and save with Progressive. Progressive.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
This fall, Macy's is here to help you shift seasons in style. Get an extra 20% off with your coupon or Macy's card. That's on top of great deals like dresses $150 and under, shoes she'll love 20% off, and the perfect dining and entertaining finds 30 to 40% off. Plus, Star Rewards members earn rewards on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Going on now at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Breeze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips. Now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar.
Find all the Gator action right here on Real Talk 93.3. Brought to you by Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey, Personal Injury Law Experts, serving the wrongfully injured. Call them at 1-800-876-7773 or find them online at wrongfullyinjured.com.
Green renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
Tallahassee is full of rich history and traditions. When you think of things that jump out in the minds of longtime residents, the state capitol, McClay Gardens, the Springtime Tallahassee Parade, FSU and FAMU Sports, the St. Mark's Lighthouse, St. George Island, and Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Paul's has been protecting thousands of people, their pets, their homes, and their lawns in the capital region for over 50 years. Locally founded and still locally owned and operated. There aren't many businesses in our industry that keep it together that long. Paul's Pest Control has many customers we've been honored to serve for over the last 50 years. We've experienced tremendous changes in how we treat homes and protect the people that live there. We've moved from liquid termite treatments that require drilling into the home's foundation to Centricon, a baiting system which works with their natural biology. We've moved from interior service to exterior treatments for general pests. But one thing we're not going to change is our old-fashioned commitment to personal service for each of our customers, the same way we've been doing it for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Time to head out on our annual guys fishing trip. Wait, where's Jimmy?
He just texted me saying he has to swing by his storage unit to get a couple of things. And now there's a truck blocking him in, and he won't be here for another hour.
That wouldn't have happened if he had just called Southeast Portable Buildings and got a unit right on his property.
I love mine. I have so much more space in my garage. Now I can finally park my truck in there.
Give them a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400. Or visit them online for all their options at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where you want them to be, or where you want them to be, if I could speak, enunciate clearly. Yeah, no, I get it. But it's still fun to look at the slate, have the wagers, and gather food for those less fortunate, for charity. That's what we do on a Redemption Thursday. Those bets, Tom, flash them if you would. There they are. Mississippi State +7. I'm banking on Florida having quit. Cincy -3.5 against Houston. Better quarterback play. Tulane -3 against Louisiana. Same. LSU -24 against what's been a dreadful start for UCLA. Iowa -2.5. Come on, defense. Shut down the boat, or the rowing of the boat. Southern Cal to keep on keeping on here in their first ever Big Ten game on the road in the Big House against Michigan. I'll lay the 5.5. Is that feels like maybe it's dangerous, but I'll do it.
That feels like an NFL-ish line.
Yeah,
a little spooky.
Tempting you. And then the Fighting Bilemus getting 8. I feel like they'll lose by 7. I'll take that 8. BYU K-State under 49. Don't love those offenses. KJ Osborne tonight. Under 19.5 receiving yards, prop bet there. Yeah, Stevie, you're right. Solid 5-5 there, Jeff. New England +6 as well. That's what I've been rolling with in these Redemption Thursday wagers. It's a 5-5 kind of vibe. And then what's weird is that it almost mirrors it in my personal life, in that I've had a terrible week in my real bets, and then a great week in my real bets, followed by a not so great week, and then a great week. So I am even Steven.
I'm still net up a decent amount because the week 1 was a perfect week. But it also helped that I was fortified by my futures bet because the Mets hit 82 this week. So that was nice to see, like, oh, your faith for a 162 slate has been rewarded, Thomas.
Those are always the fun notices that you get, where you forget that you made the bet because you made it way back when it started. And you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. I did this for a lot of teams. I had one where I bet the Marlins under team total, and they were awful. I had one where I bet the White Sox under team total. I cashed those suckers a while ago, and I had forgotten about them. And then all of a sudden, you'll notice, I'm like, what did I bet? Was I a little loopy on a Friday and placed a bet I didn't know about? Oh, no, it was just the Marlins suck, and I cashed that ticket. Same with the White Sox.
The Marlins do not suck, sir. They're going to do some. They're going to do some great things this weekend. I think the Marlins have a nice little run in them this weekend. Let's go fish.
Hey, speaking of which, what's funny about that is that I was diving in because we got a week and a half to go in baseball season. That's all we have. That's it. A week and a half. The Cubs losing yesterday meant that the Brewers were the first team to clinch a division championship. The NL Central is theirs. It's all over but the shout, and the Brewers have won the division. First team to clinch the division. They're the 3 seed right now.
That's why they need to keep playing baseball, being tough. They play.
Well,
the
but you don't want them to be tough when you play them.
Well, no.
Just now against the D-backs.
They're playing the D-backs. They've got a first-round bye that they can play for in Milwaukee.
Well, this is the cursory glance I did for baseball week. Because of the 3 o'clock hour, I'm able to do this. By the way, Easy Living just made me laugh. Hour 3 is kind of loosey-goosey every time we do hour 3. It's kind of all over. But he says, instead of music in progress, sound will return soon, it should read football in progress, FSU will return soon.
Also, way to keep the torches, Easy Living. I don't know why we abandoned the seal for our logo as the university.
I like the seal. I have a shirt that has it.
Now we're doing the FSU block lettering as our logo.
You've seen my black shirt like that. I have that exact logo. It's nice. Anyhow, so I knew there would be time. I make time for the NFL and Major League Baseball and other sports in that third hour. And I wanted to let everybody know, because a lot of people get so distracted by football, obviously. And I got it. It's everybody's favorite sport. But baseball gets put on the back burner until we get close to the playoffs, and we are now close to the playoffs. And I was just getting everybody caught up. The Brewers have won the Central. They're in. They're the third seed. The Phillies' magic number to clinch the East is 4 because, as I said in the first hour, Braves and Mets won yesterday. The Braves are 2 back of the Mets with 10 to play. Chris Sale goes today. Dodgers won. Ohtani has 48 home runs and 49 steals.
They're playing right
They're playing right now.
Yeah. What do we got?
All right. Let's update everybody.
Give me a moment.
We'll update everybody.
The home screen's taking forever
Braves
to load.
fans want to know.
Oh, is it final already? Oh, the Braves are rolling.
Oh, there you go.
11-2.
Another great day for Chris Sale and the Braves.
Awesome.
You wanted to look it up.
I did.
As I said, Ohtani has 48 home runs and 49 steals. He is fighting to go 50-50, and he, oh, by the way, is beginning to throw, and it was said by Dave Roberts that he might be able to pitch in the postseason, Tom. How crazy is that? So the Dodgers don't have to make room on a roster spot for another pitcher because Ohtani could be that pitcher. More heroics from Ohtani, buddy.
Lovely. That'd be wonderful to see. It's his first postseason action, too. Currently pitching for the Cincinnati Reds in an 11-2 baseball game, Brandon Liebrandt, former Knoll.
That is right.
He's on the hill
Good
right
for
now.
him. Padres beat Houston. San Diego is 3.5 behind L.A. The Astros still 5 up in the AL West. Arizona 6 back, tied with the Mets for the 6th seed. Holding off Atlanta because the Mets own the tiebreaker.
That's correct.
That's how that works.
Yes.
I've got it out there.
We're in the 5. We're in the 5 right now.
Well,
It's a tiebreaker.
It's kind of, yeah.
It's a virtual tie.
Yeah, it is. Yes, technically. Twins give up 3 in the bottom of the ninth to the Guardians. Ooh, they scored 2 to take the lead, gave up 3. That will hurt your feelings. They lead the Tigers by a half a game. Look at Detroit. That thing was over. Detroit's a half game back now. They've got a shot at it. Tigers have won 4 in a row. The White Sox, if you didn't know, just because you're curious, I'm here for you. 36-117. The White Sox are 81 games below 500.
It's half a season.
Sir. 36-117. Yankees clinched a playoff spot. 5 up on Baltimore. Baltimore is 2-8 in their last 10, have lost 3 in a row. Ouch. Been worried about Ira's Baltimore Orioles. They just keep fading.
This is a fade.
This is a concern, dude.
You're hoping they're just taking a nap before the postseason.
Are you all making the trip next weekend for the SMU game? Steven Stevenson writes. Steve, by the way, double check. See if I'm right about this. Tom, I'm going to have you do the research while I answer Steven. Look up if Steve Stevenson is the guitarist for Billy Idol. I think it is. I think it was Steve Stevenson. Maybe I got that wrong. Crazy black hair. Did you type in Steve Stevenson?
Steve Stevens.
Pretty close. Give me credit, buddy. That's going back to the early 80s. That's me reading liner notes from back in the day.
He was also a songwriting collaborator.
Yes, he was. Well, he went with Billy in every incarnation, everywhere they went. By the way, they played in Lakeland, and I saw him because I went to see the Cult, who opened for them. And it's the night that they filmed the Money Money video.
Oh, really?
You know what sucks about that is they tell you they're going to film the video, and they're like, "Yeah, we're shooting a video here tonight." And you go, "Oh, okay, great." And then the next thing that happens, they play Money Money 10 times in a row so they can get it from every angle.
Oh, man.
And you got to hear them play Money Money over it again, which is a remake to begin with. Me and Luis Morales were there to see it. Car broke down along the way. Had a nice gentleman pull over to the side of the road and say, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know anything about cars."
Volkswagen
It
bug?
was. Yeah, you can fix a Volkswagen bugs with like gum. And this guy fixed it and was like, "There, you're good to go. You're good to go." Some sort of belt. You can tell me anything and I would never know. But anyway, I got to that thing. And we got in just in time for the Cult to take the stage. All right, back to you, Steven Stevenson. I was close. It was Steve Stevens. Are you all making the trip to Dallas next weekend for the SMU game? No, we're not. It stinks. I like Dallas-Fort Worth. I enjoy the area. I had an invite from our own Matt Lasser to play his home club. We were going to go golfing. We were going to do the whole thing, Tom. It was going to be a big to-do. I just can't bring myself to go to Dallas to watch this team play.
Yep. I figured you weren't going to go. Usually preseason, you're going to 3 road games, and then the over-under is 1.5 in truth.
Well, no, if we play well, I cash it in and go to all of them. I've already been on the road to Dublin. It's not a true road game, but I went to Dublin. That's a big to-do. And then I'm going to Notre Dame. Yep. You're also going. That's 2. Oh, you're shaky now. Now you're shaky. I'm going. I bought my ticket.
I know you're going.
I'm going.
You're riding the Spirit Express.
If you were doing the ad, that's the jingle?
Yeah.
I am riding the Spirit Express.
Spirit Express.
You got to say it from here on out. Contractually obligated. I will be riding the
Spirit Express.
Nicely done. And I'm hoping that my family will be riding the Spirit Express. I don't know. I was yet to speak to those gentlemen or women. I don't know. You're dealing with the management team over there.
I am dealing with the management team.
Yeah.
Nice save. Good save. They will be riding the Spirit Express.
Yes, we're going to be there. I'm going to enjoy Chicago. I'm going to go to a Bears game the next day. They play New England.
Oh, there you go. Might be a good New England team.
It'll just be a rugged, hard-hitting game between 2 very low-scoring teams.
Caleb
with
Williams.
4 quarterback play.
All right. So, yeah, Caleb Williams, 13 of 27 for 122 and a rushing touchdown.
Okay, did you see the post-game? Wasn't that weird?
With C.J. Stroud?
Yes.
And he was over it.
It was weird to me.
Yep.
It's like, that's not a good look, Caleb. I don't think C.J. did anything wrong there.
No. He's trying to do what all veteran quarterbacks did for him just last year.
Try to help him out.
Like words of encouragement.
Yeah.
You
Hang
belong
in there.
here.
You belong. Hang
You're
in
going to
there.
be a hell of a
Yeah.
player.
I don't think that was a good look. And it's, you know how sometimes we love to do the thing where you go, well, I've seen this one data point and it tells me all I need to know. I did it with him. So like that happened. If people don't know, last week, C.J. Stroud hugged Caleb Williams at midfield after the game, put his arm around him, and gave him a couple of words of encouragement and advice. It was nothing like, it wasn't condescending or anything like that.
No, he just said, stop taking hits when you're running the football. That's the one thing he said, which really isn't that critical at all. He's just saying,
yeah,
you're really good. Don't shorten your
don't get
career
beat up
by being,
don't get beat
reckless with the run.
And then there you go. And the next thing that happens is obviously he gives him that stink eye, like he doesn't want to hear that nonsense.
Yep. And then CJ pulls him in.
Yeah.
Says, oh no, you're not leaving. Now you're
all
committed.
I know is though I saw it and I went, ooh, this isn't a good sign. I don't know why that feels like it's a terrible sign, but it does. It feels like it's a good sign that things aren't going to work out. I've decided Caleb Williams' regime is over in Chicago. They got to pick another quarterback. That's crazy foolish, but it feels like I'm right. It does. It's crazy foolish. It feels like
that.
I'm right.
You could. This is how you could turn into a national talking head, just with takes like that all the time. Just declare it.
All you got to do. He's done. Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
The moment's happened.
No,
Chicago, you're on the clock.
Well, I did say Carolina was on the clock after one game, and I was right about that. Carolina is on the clock. One game into the season, I went, "Woo, Carolina, you're back on the clock, kid." I would hope like hell, if I were Bryce Young, that somehow they move me and I get to a functional organization, because that is a dysfunctional organization.
Yes, you've seen the graphics. Everybody puts the graphics out now
Mm-hmm.
about Carolina quarterbacks, the last 3 or 4 of them, what they've done at their next destination. It's all very good. It's all very, very good.
Yeah, they have a fighting chance. That's what it is.
They've been good.
Yeah,
much better than they were in Carolina.
Yeah, it's tough time.
And that reputation is no good. Good luck getting a free agent receiver, offensive lineman with that type of reputation.
Want to give credit where credit's due to a national guy who I talk with sometimes and then sometimes on his show, but that's not why I'm doing it. So yesterday we talked about this because I mentioned a week earlier that we were hearing some really weird things about something that might be brewing involving the ACC, Florida State, and Clemson. And then we started talking about this. What are you laughing? What did I miss?
No, it's just Florida Man in Alabama wants me to combine the Spirit Express jingle with Ira's shot noise.
Oh, I think that would be good. Do you have it?
I can make that happen.
You got to make that happen.
Spirit Express.
Ooh. We did Coach Speak this morning, and he added another sound clip that I want to add to the board. I don't think he'll like it. He tried to rap something, and it was just so good. It was good. But it was not like a free flowing. It was one singular bar, and it was funny the way he did it. And then I was like, "Oh, we should isolate that." He's like, "No." Yeah, but you're right. Spirit Express combined, yeah, with yeah, that's good.
Maybe like a little noise of the chimes, like underneath.
Oh, we're just gonna turn it into a huge thing.
Well, you know what? Hey, we're gonna fill some buses.
Let's go fill those buses, Tom. So you saw where the clown shows that are the national writers, oftentimes who have somehow pitted themselves against FSU for whatever reason, because Florida State sought to look after themselves. They viewed yesterday's news out of the Atlantic Coast Conference that there might be some sort of compromise as a loss for Florida State. And I thought, oh, you couldn't be more wrong. This is a huge win for Florida State. It's not the exact thing that they wanted, but really everything points to this being a win. And I was wondering, after I saw the first two, like it was like Stuart Mandel, and the others, I was like, okay, anybody else like going to look at this objectively and decide that this was a win? Andy Staples did. He said basically, and I'll read his quotes, in a discussion that he had about this very thing, if this goes through, and we don't know if it will go through, this is something that the ACC presidents are reviewing currently. I've seen the reactions to this news, and a lot of people thought that Florida State whined and didn't get their way. But no, Florida State and Clemson have won. They won absolutely. They're going to get more money, which is what they wanted. They're going to get out of the conference, and they're going to be free agents at the time that it's most advantageous to be a free agent, when the Big Ten expands and gets the new television contract in 2030. That is correct. Goes on to say, look, they get out from under the grant of rights situation, the payment that was going to be massive, and they get to leave before 2036, a lot before 2036. These are a lot of things that are beneficial to Florida State. If this goes through as is, and the numbers that are whispered, Tom, are that it's potentially 25 to 30 million more.
Okay, now that would have to be one hell of a redistribution of the television assets into the kitty.
Well, why wouldn't ESPN do that?
ESPN would need to kick the money in themselves.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Well, and what else would they do? They would tell Wake and Syracuse and BC, this is the best it's going to get.
Right.
Here's the deal.
Yes,
we're taking money from you.
Yeah.
From you.
Mm-hmm.
So your 40, whatever you get now, is going to become 30.
Right.
And we're putting it over here. And guess what? You don't like that? Leave. Where are you going?
Well, or we just won't renew the deal if you don't have the votes.
And
that's
then where do you go?
Right. That's where the sentence from Dellinger that ESPN is in the middle of all of this speaks volumes.
That's huge. It's why we said it yesterday.
And there's actually a question from the chat and a contribution from Robert. This is a good opening for that. But he's saying, revisiting the lawsuit talk, why would FSU Clemson entertain anything before the deadline in February? I think that we'd let that date pass with no deal. Well, it's a leverage point. It's a leverage point. If you let that date pass with no deal, yeah, you could get out free and clear in a couple of years.
You might. Well,
I mean, then ESPN wouldn't renew the deal. So therefore, the ACC contract would be dead in 2027. You would get out earlier. But you would make no more money in the interim, and you'd still be fighting the legal battles. So the interesting thing is, in this fight, ESPN has become your ally if you're FSU and Clemson. Because now the ACC feels a pinch legally from us.
This is an important part.
And they feel the pressure. ESPN, I'm not going to renew if you don't, ...
The other part of that is that it gives you an answer to the test that you don't have to necessarily cave here, but this is part of a negotiation. I think I read this as the ACC feels like they're losing the lawsuit. They are losing the lawsuit.
Correct. And this is what I said yesterday. The reason that that's the case is even if you believe that Florida State and Clemson leaked this, if they did, no, I'm just saying, just live in that hypothetical for a moment. If they did, then Jim Phillips and other university presidents would be salivating at the quote that they could feed Hale, Adelson, Dellinger, Andy Staples, whoever, Mandel. They would be salivating to take a pot shot at Florida State for this ridiculous thing that they're trying to bring up. We're not giving them money based on ratings. It's a non-starter. They're ridiculous. It never happened.
Never happened.
It never happened.
Not one quote like that.
Which is a humongous deviation from the time it was pitched at Amelia Island a long time ago. And that's a huge thing to note.
Well, just keep going back to the pound your fist on the desk, ironclad, no chance, blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah, blah.
But even when Florida State, the success initiatives, right? The success initiatives thing that happened at Amelia Island last year. Like it was all about wins on the field, not wins at the box office, so to speak.
Right.
That was a non-starter. It's not a non-starter now because nobody's saying it's a non-starter. And then also, where did this 2036 to 2030 talk come from? If I am a lifer in the triangle saying, Florida State, you're never getting out of here. And I hear 2030, I go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where did 2030
Why are we
come from?
conceding another 6 years? Why? Yeah, and we were always going to have to be here next year anyhow. So 2025 was. So you're really.
I would feel betrayed if I was a Duke hardliner or a Wake hardliner, and I heard that. No, I'm talking about a consumer of the story,
right?
Not a media member.
So 26, 27, 28, 29. You got to survive 4 years, and you're hoping to angle at another on top of what you're already getting. Add 25 to 30 million more, which puts you in the ballpark of the annual payouts in the SEC and the Big Ten. And then you walk out as a free agent. You might even be an independent if you needed to be. You walk out as a free agent in 2030, which aligns with the Big Ten's situation. Now, there are those who would say, Jeff, where this is going is that there are no conferences by 2030, 2032, 2033, that there are none. That it's a Super 2 or it's a one big giant Super League, and that is some people believe 40, some people believe 50, some people believe 60 teams. And where this gets fun is that people begin to discuss, well, who are they? Who are the teams? Well, some of them are very easy. If you ever play this game at a bar, it's very enjoyable. Sit down with an ice cold beer and say, all right, let's name 20 that are in no matter what. That takes 2 seconds. All right, name the next 20 that are in no matter what. That also takes about a minute. Where it gets fun is when you start getting up towards 50. Because there are some where you go, no way, no how. They're not in. They're not in. And some of them are right there. I mean, right there. Like a Pitt or something where you're kind of like,
Virginia Tech.
Right there. Right? It gets tough. I don't think it gets as bloated as 60, but I could see 50 or I could see 48.
But no matter what happens, if you accept this deal, which I hope they continue to turn the screws, get the summary judgment they're looking for, and they're free and clear earlier. I think that'd be more fun if that was the case.
Oh, it would be awesome.
But as long as you don't have to sign a deal, read grants of rights or whatever, that says that you have to stay till 2030, I would think that means that a settlement figure, if, say, we got squarely in 2027 or 2028, is palatable enough that you could just stroke the check and go.
I just like that the whole thing is breaking down, which is an indicator, again, that the lawsuit has gone well for Florida State and Clemson. That all of this acquiescing and negotiating and leaking of stories seem to suggest that this was not as strong as they once thought it was. And that because Florida State sued, they were able to discover some things that opened these doors. That's the whole thing. You took a risk. You said, screw it, or that you filed suit. Because Florida State filed suit, things had to come to light. And some of those things made you realize, oh, wait a minute, what? This doesn't go to 2036. There's an opt-in and an opt-out. There's all these things we didn't know about.
No, that was the bombshell.
And the vote,
in the moment, it was such a bombshell that we couldn't believe it to a degree, where we said, well, if this is news, first of all. Secondly, if it's not true, wait 30 seconds. And the ACC is going to come out and say, well, that's just not a fact. But then the ACC never could, because it is a fact. And now you understand a little bit more why the grant of rights was under lock and key. The ESPN deal, because some of the summary judgment stuff that they're bringing to light, partial judgment, it seems like because they were able to get that in their possession, they were able to file for this partial summary
yeah.
judgment. Now you understand why the ACC would only allow lawyers to come in and look at it rather than, just having it in the drawer of all their member institutions.
I just laugh thinking back to being in Charlotte before the season started and the bravado with which Jim Phillips somehow mustered a backbone for a minute and during his speech to the ACC faithful there. It felt like, and I texted you, we talked about it later, this feels an awful lot like a thou protest too much sort of moment, doesn't it?
It felt thou protest too late is what it felt like.
Well,
to me
yes, both, but I thought, oh, now we're brave? That's strange.
This is where the writers can't help themselves, or the leaker of the information can't help himself. The number one tell the other night was that multiple articles said regularly scheduled phone call, their annual meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I would, if I was the PR representative for the ACC, I'd say, I don't care. Don't put that in there. Then they know it's us.
Yeah, they know it's us.
I need that thing to read like it could have come from anybody, not from us who's trying to say, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
We were supposed to have that phone
We were
call.
always going to meet.
This was nothing new.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Football. Well, it may not be living up to our expectations yet, so I'm going to try to give you something to look forward to. Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. This month, we asked Nissan for a lift on two of our best vehicles, and as usual, they answered, so listen to this. 2024 Titan trucks have 0% financing for 60 months, plus each and every Titan on our lot is now marked down $5,000. Plus, Titan has America's best warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. Or if you're interested in an SUV with $2,000 bonus cash and $1,500 loyalty cash on the Nissan Armada, you can save up to $5,000 on each and every Armada on our lot and get 3.9% financing for 60 months. Or just like last month, we can put you into a brand new Nissan Sentra starting at $420 a month, no money down. Some of the best deals of the year on some of Tallahassee's favorite vehicles. Come see us today at Kraft Nissan. Remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag on your car, you paid too much, way too much.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachia Parkway.
Searching for the best place to spend time outdoors this spring and summer? The Golf Club at Summerbrook has all the amenities you and your family need. Purchase a family pool membership this season and enjoy the most luxurious and relaxing resort-style pool in the entire city with a 6,000 square foot deck, covered pavilion, and poolside drink and food service. You'll feel like you're on vacation. Reserve your pool membership today. Visit the Golf Club at Summerbrook.com or call 850-894-GOLF. That's 894-GOLF.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Sellers, are you stuck between wanting to sell your home and waiting for rates to fall? Are you worried about the contingency of having to sell your home? What if you didn't have to? With a 2-1 rate buy down, you can lock in a lower interest rate for the first 2 years of your mortgage and get the home you want now, all while having a higher chance to buy that next home with the contingency of selling yours. If you wait for rates to fall, you risk more competition, sellers less likely to wait, and paying more for that next property. If you're stuck, we need to talk. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. Again, this is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. That's 954-369-6171. And don't forget, for every loan we close for our fellow Noles, I will personally donate $250 to the Battle's End.
Equal housing rent. NMLS number 373031.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. We find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
The Jeff Cameron Show is sponsored by Shannon Young with Fairway Mortgage Corporation. He's so good, he's even got Jimbo's Christmas tree pre-approved for a new home. Visit loansforknowles.com.
Got to do the right thing here and collaborate with our good friends at ISF and solve for the future here. And in doing that, I will just tell you that ISF, right here in Tallahassee, helping people throughout the entire country. Isn't that cool? Your business, your organization wants to be more efficient, technologically savvy, make more money, save more money, aid more folks that are in need, all those things. That organizational transformation is what I'm talking about, right? They do so with public sector managed services, IT modernization. You've heard me talk about the many examples, whether it's with folks from the Guardian Ad Litem, well, you name it, state government.
Second Harvest,
that's right, exactly right. So we love collaborating with them. In fact, Jonathan reached out to me this week. He wanted to sit down and have a cold one and talk about solving the future for Florida State. And I told him, save your money on the beer, Jonathan. Send it to the Battle's End. Let's go try to get some players this offseason. But actually, I want to have that cold one with him next week. Next week gets a little bit easier.
Well, it's a long talk. I don't think one beer will do.
That's why it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Is that we're going to have more than the one.
Yes. But, Hun, I had to.
What do you want
we
me
were
to
talking
do?
about Florida State's problems. You know that's not a 15 to 20-minute discussion.
I was Ubering to have this conversation. You had to know it was going to be a long one.
Yeah.
And solving for the future. It's this one's easy for me. I said it all week long. I'll continue to say it now. I'll say it again after this weekend because I'm a little worried it's going to remain status quo. You got to play the kids. Free the youngins is solving for the future.
Yeah, but it also solves problems for the now too. You know, I think that's the interesting thing here is you could take a path and discuss on the show, on anything. What are the immediate things that need attention? Or you could take the other path and say, what are things that have to change in order for the future to get better? Either way, you're solving for a near-term future or a long-term future. But I would argue that playing the young kids helps you solve both. There are going to be very few things other than money, lots and lots of money, that help you solve both problems in the short term and the long term. But one of them is turning to the young kids and allowing them to play. That's something that can help you in both ways. It doesn't mean necessarily wins, but it helps you with morale.
Tom, I think, yes, it certainly helps you with morale, but I think this feels so much like a no-brainer. And again, I get that coaches think very differently from fans or analysts or media members or even people that are tangentially connected to the game in some way and have an opinion. I get it. Because a coach spends all of his time game planning for that week's game. He's thinking about this Saturday, and he's looking at matchups. He's looking what to exploit, what to employ within his own schemes that will work best in these situations, how to efficiently attack weakness, all of these areas. And it might be that when you do it through that prism that you say, I have to start DJ because what I see from him in practice each day tells me he's more ready to handle what we're going to see on Saturday. You might also say in a moment of private angst that it's not ideal that I have to start him, but that's who I have to start because I just can't trust that Brock isn't going to turn the ball over 3 times this weekend trying to make something happen that he hasn't shown me that he can do, and he'll cost us the game that we could otherwise win. And that is, you're looking at a singular game on a Saturday night against Cal when you're saying that to yourself. Like, I think he gives us the best chance to win. Now, I don't happen to agree with him. Doesn't matter what I think, but I'm just pointing out that coaches are trying to win that game, that week, that day.
He thinks his path out of this is to win some damn games. and he's trying to figure out how to win the next one.
Well, and he thinks his path out of this is for them to execute better. See, these plays are there, Tom. If you go back and watch the film, the plays are there. We just have to execute better. You hear every coach in the midst of a long losing streak or a season that's spiraling out of control talk an awful lot about execution and how bad do you want it and are you focused during the week and preparation. But it usually is the classic not seeing the forest for the trees. It's the moment where you have to say, no. You're lost here, my man. Sure, maybe this Saturday that's true. Maybe there's a game or two where having those veteran players helps you more this particular weekend than it would to be very young. But this season is already gone, man. You're thinking about this Saturday. I'm thinking about 2025 because this season's done. You're 0-3. 2 of those losses are in conference. By the way, you haven't even played the hard part of your schedule yet. What are you running DJ out there for?
The response could be, what do you want me to do? Ruin the next wave of kids before they're ready?
No, I want you to play them and get them experience so that you can find out what you have. In some cases, it's very necessary, like quarterback, for example. DJ's not back next year. You'll lose one of those 2 quarterbacks behind him if you don't begin to play them. And then where are you? Now you're starting a kid who's even, because my suspicion is if there is no success on offense, and there hasn't been, if there's no success on offense again this weekend, and you continue to roll DJ out there, Brock is piecing the hell out after this year. Or Luke.
What if they go in there and they don't play well and now their confidence is ruined for the future of their careers? Confidence is a big part of the equation here.
Certainly you do have to, I think, evaluate a kid's psyche and whether or not they're mentally tough enough to handle adversity, setbacks, losses, whatever it might be, hits.
A quick aside, I'm taking Mike's position.
I know you are.
Okay. Yeah.
My point would be, I think you know enough by now that Brock isn't mentally weak. He got thrown into untenable situations last year.
After breaking his thumb in season.
Very last second with no game plan to boot, and he handled it. Did he play well? No, those are 2 different things. But did he back down from those things? Did he show mental weakness? No, I don't think he did. He didn't shut down. And again, we know those circumstances were very strange.
Yeah. The one of the questions I would ask if I was not in my role as defending, I'm as Mike. How is it that this veteran offensive line was such a whiff on so many levels? You know, the best you've ever had, not close to it. Here with the same coaching staff, many pieces were year over year over year, and they put good film out there. How'd the film get worse? Do they hate each other? Like, is it something that simple that, you know, Ferguson and Leonard came in here and they hate each other? You know, they just didn't fit the way you thought they were. Well, no, because chemistry matters. Trusting the guy next to you matters. And if there's, you know, a personality conflict, then maybe that can cloud some of the communication. But you're seeing communication breakdowns from a line that even if you're talking about a guy like Leonard comes in, he's played so much. I'm sure whatever you're asking him to do, he's seen before. But how are their communication breakdowns such that guys are turned loose? This is independent of DJ. This isn't like just the 5 of them working as one. How did they get worse at it? Why are they running into each other? How can that even happen? If it's Otto and Armella, I could understand. Heat of the moment, you're cutting your teeth. These guys have been playing for years. How did they get worse?
Well, you know, I don't know what his answer would be there, but obviously these are many examples of what's disconcerting to all of us is that the regression seems to suggest a lack of development from his coaching staff and himself. And that is a harder question to answer. And I don't know that we solve the future just yet about a game this Saturday when we have discussions about a regression of talent or a regression of play from the offensive line.
Well, the answer to that question could help inform him to say, all right, I need to switch some new guys in there because clearly the ones I have gotten worse.
Or maybe broken or whatever, you know, I mean,
whatever it is.
You keep rolling Robert Scott out there. We got to stop doing that. Listen, I know he's had to play because you've had injuries at tackle, but he cannot play. He is not the player he once was. You're holding on to this image of a guy who 2 years ago was a very good football player. He hasn't been in a long time, and it sucks for him, and I like that kid, and it was all because of injury, but that is the reality of their situation. Stop rolling out guys that aren't getting results for a variety of reasons. He's not getting results because he can't move. He can't move. Your quarterback also can't move. You can't protect him. What's the point of playing him at that point? At least put somebody in who can move away from a blitz, away from a rusher.
Well, and that's the thing where you could have an honest moment and concede, like, look, coach, if this was the best offensive line that you had, like if that was true, and he moved around like he did at Oregon State, if that was true, and so therefore you can run the ball and he can move around, I see why you made these moves. 100%, because if those things all came to pass, then we wouldn't be complaining about the quarterback right now. We might have one loss, but we certainly don't have three. You know, so everything you laid those pieces with an intent, but the basis by which you've built your offense this year just hasn't worked. You're not winning on the ground at all.
They're one of the worst rushing attacks in the entire country.
In the United States.
In the United States. This isn't an opinion. So like people get mad. They're like, oh, well, you know, you're not there. You're not a coach. You're not a coach. You know, I don't have to be a coach to know that there's the second worst rushing attack in America. You don't have to be a coach to know that.
Well, and you can look at the numbers on counter specifically, and they have plummeted in the last couple of years. And that's a hard reality. And the other reality is until Memphis, you didn't see stacked boxes. Now Memphis, after a while, was like, "Oh, the hell with this! They're not going to
respect anything about your downfield." Yeah.
So they crowded it, and they're like, "Well, we're just going to stop you."
I got hurt once.
Yeah, once, and they still had the lead.
Yeah.
Then we went for two.
ISF, you've got to help Florida State solve for the future. I can try to solve for the future as part of our fixed position feature and our collaboration together. I want you to go in there and take a good, hard look at the organizational transformation that is necessary as aided by ISF. That's going to be a huge money client, right? Let's go. Come back, wrap it up. We went long. Still got the news.
Your local news now.
A Tallahassee couple, both lawyers, are now suspended from practicing law in Florida. Sarah and Gabriel Warren were arrested in March for sexual battery. The couple took a plea deal for lesser charges and apologized to the woman they were accused of assaulting. The Florida Supreme Court suspended them from the bar on Wednesday. 3 people have been hospitalized following a car crash involving 5 vehicles near Florida A&M's campus. 2 people had minor injuries while 1 had serious injuries. The crash happened at the intersection of Adams Street and Lincoln. The crash is still under investigation. There are no further details available at this time. A precautionary boil water notice has been initiated for Talquin Electric Cooperative members living in the West Regional Water System. Members in this area could notice low water pressure and discolored tap water. Members in the advisory should bring water to a rolling boil and allow it to cool before drinking or cooking. Clothes also may be stained if washed with the discolored water. This is Rachel Anae with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Nicer weather on the way as drier air moves in. Plenty of sunshine sticking around through the weekend. Highs staying around the 90-degree mark. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 70. Friday and Saturday, sunny with highs around 90, lows around 70. Sunny conditions continue on Sunday, high of 91. Starting off next week, sunny as well. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pests, and for a greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
Siri, tell me a joke. If your house is cold, just stand in the corner. It's always 90 degrees.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Macklemore Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Macklemore Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Sweet chocolate reward. Sweet chocolate reward.
This is not just the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat at Walgreens. This is the sound of someone picking up a sweet treat right after receiving all their vaccines in one trip. This is the sound of treating yourself, because you protected yourself.
Stop by or schedule both your flu and COVID-19 vaccines today and grab yourself a sweet treat while you're at it. Vaccine subject to availability. State, age, and health-related restrictions may apply.
I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, that question was asked, Drip. I see where Tom answered it during the break, but he was specifically asked why he went for 2. And he said that he was trying to win the game 21-20. He was playing to win 21-20. I was like,
And look, on an analytics sheet, it says that's exactly what you should do in that situation. That analytics sheet doesn't have this offensive line, this quarterback who's gun shy and can't move, and this receiving core who was challenged by Memphis to win one-on-ones, and they largely couldn't.
Remember that when you get this kind of information, an analytics sheet, a when to go for 2, when not to go for 2, it is merely information that you utilize to help you make a decision. It is not the be-all, end-all answer every single time. That does not take into account all of the factors, and that's what Tom is describing. If you don't have a quarterback who's executing at a high level, you don't have an offensive line that is able to execute at a high level, if you do not have the ability to block it up consistently, and they haven't, you have to factor that in too, as opposed to this idea of, well, mathematically, this is what we're to do. The game is still played by humans.
Yeah.
You still have to know, like, are we capable of executing the play that I would run if we go for 2 here, because the math says we should.
So you've got to pick up 2 or 3 yards. I forget if it's 2 or 3, but it's immaterial, because how often on first down are we picking up 2 yards with consistency?
Well, you're certainly not going to run it in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if I'm the offensive coordinator, I don't trust myself to run the ball. I don't trust my quarterback to run in that situation. So now I have to pass. If I'm the defensive coordinator, I don't think they're going to run it. And if they try, I'm going to stop them.
They're not going to run it.
Quarterback's not going to run it, because even if he did, I'd have 10 seconds to figure it out and go rally to him and stop him. So he's got to throw it. Like, I get, in theory, you've got 2 coin flips there, because he's saying even if you don't get it, you can chase it. You can chase that point, go get it back the next time. I trust my team in 2 coin flip scenarios. My take would be, no, I don't. I not with that personnel. If you got Jordan Travis at the helm, it was last year's team where they got to worry about Keon on the outside and Johnny on the outside, and then also Jordan's legs.
Yeah, so
that is an advantageous position to be going for it on 2, because I don't know what's coming.
So you're trying to, by going for 2, make the score 20-11.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So now you're assuming that you're going to get a stop.
All stops. No more points for them.
You're going to get a stop. You're going to go down and score and kick the extra point and make it 20-18.
Mm-hmm.
You're then going to get another stop, not give up a field goal, not give up anything, and then go down the field and kick the game-winning field goal basically as time expires, because you're counting possessions at this point too.
Right. Yeah.
What evidence do you have that you're going to go down and score not once but twice? And what evidence do you have that suggests you're going to get those stops both times that you need?
Yeah, again,
none.
The thought is in that situation that you're not going to miss a 2-point play twice. So no matter what, you're right back where you started.
Oh, I think you're putting a heaping helping of pressure on yourself if you don't get it that first time and then have to get it the next time. It's even more.
And in college, that matters way more. Professionals can brush it off and move on. This is a team that's 0-2. They just finally had a play and a drive.
Yeah.
And now it's stunted. It's stunted in that moment. Yeah. No, I would rather have fewer coin flips with that offense.
Yeah,
so if you're telling me
yes,
that we score with 35 seconds to go, first of all, go play for overtime at that point, because you will have controlled the second half to arrive at that scenario.
You will have control. That is correct.
You will have arrived at that place with new information that says trenches, we're good. I want that fight on even terms in overtime. But let's just say you don't. Take the coin flip to the end. Take it to the end when they're beaten like we were in the Superdome.
Against LSU.
Never should have gotten to that point.
Right. And when LSU scored, in real time, we went, oh, no, if he goes for 2, we're going to lose.
Right.
And he still regrets it. He blew it. He should have gone for 2. We were sapped. We had nothing.
They have the muff punt. We don't score. But in that moment, from the muff punt to where they got to a touchdown, you're thinking, oh, my God. And the long replay review.
Mm-hmm.
For 19, 20-year-olds, that matters so much more, I think.
I don't want to get into the debate here because it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. And yes, it speaks to a mindset. And yes, we can get into whether or not you should or shouldn't. I like my coaches to be uber aggressive, and I like them to embrace the modern analytics and the 2-point sheet and all. I want them more often than not. I want them to be that way. I want them to go for it. You know, I see coaches a lot of times punt in situations. I brought it up in the NFL. What's his name with the Raiders? Punted on 4th and punt. It was a 4th and 1 from the opponent's 41.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Week 1.
In 64 of the last 65 instances in which that had been the case, the coach went for it. And I remember thinking, that is crazy that you punted from there. There's no, like, come on, man. What are you doing? So more often than not, I want my coach to embrace that, the modern mentality. But man, it is weird because it does not factor in. And I think somebody said it here. It felt like it was a kick in the boys when they didn't get it.
It felt like we weren't using any crop preserver at all. It felt like there was no preservation of the crops. There was no soothing of the crops whatsoever. It felt like, you know what it felt like?
I gotta find it, Tommy. I gotta find it.
It felt more like a dusting than a preservation.
What did I do with it? Where did you go? Where did you go? I've lost it.
Well, you know all about it now.
Yeah, use the promo code WARCHANT. Manscaped.com is what Tom's describing. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT and save 20%. 20% off the soothing salve for the boys.
That's right. Look, we don't need any chafing. We're already chafed enough.
Oh, we're chafed, all right.
Personality-wise.
We got the red ass.
No, we all got to check ourselves. Hey, did you happen to take out that? Wait a minute. We're going for 2 when we shouldn't. Give me a minute. I'm sorry about that, hon. I just couldn't understand. I'm a little chafed. But thankfully, I'm not chafed in multiple ways.
20% off.
Because I went to manscaped.com.
Manscaped.com. Type in WARCHANT. And you're saving. You also get the crop, not preserver. What's the one? The lawnmower.
Oh, the lawnmower.
Lawnmower. Right. You get that ear hair out of there. You get the nose hair out of there. There it is. Manscaped.com. Code WARCHANT for 20% off. Free shipping. Enjoy the baseball tonight, guys. We got a little NFL football to boot and a bad college football game. I'll be traveling out of town to watch my son play high school football.
Where at?
I don't know. I think we're going to Fort something. It's like 2.5 hours away.
Fort DeSoto?
No, I think it's the beach. I think it's over by Panama City.
Fort DeSoto?
No, it's not. Good work out of you. Thanks, everybody. Be well. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Libations Friday, Loosey Goosey edition. Peace.